Okay, it's after 6 o'clock. We'll begin our meeting. Welcome to the Wellfleet Board Select Board meeting of February 26, 2019 at the Wellfleet Senior Center. We will begin with announcements, open session, and public comments, first from the board. Anybody have anything to add or say?
Not really, Janet. I just want to say this is one of the largest crowds we've ever had, so welcome, everybody. Thank you for seeing us tonight. Maybe you'll come next week, too. I don't know what's on that agenda. No bike thing, but maybe.
Anyone else on the board? Anyone from the audience having comment, announcements? Okay, great. We will move forward. Oh, I'm sorry. I just thought you didn't see a chair.
That's okay, no problem. Again, I'd just like to bring everybody's attention that
You know what, your mic's not on. Andrew, is the mic on?
I think it's on. I got a green light. Hear me? Is it going now?
Who?
Okay.
There we go.
There we go. I'll just speak
Thank
up.
you.
No problem. It's the annual Town of Wellfleet proclamation. The Board of Selectmen just signed it. Also signed by the town administrator, the assistant town administrator, the police chief, the fire chief, the lieutenant on the police department, the DPW director. I'll read it we do every year. Whereas the majority of women and men in our community are deeply concerned about pressing problem of violence against women, sexual assault, and domestic violence, and whereas the many cultures represented in our community are all affected, including heterosexual, gay, bisexual, transgender individual, communities of colors, immigrants, the youth, the aged, the infirm, the disability abled, and whereas the White Ribbon Day campaign believes that the majority of men wish to make a positive contribution towards the ending of this violence, and whereas our municipality wishes to make tangible steps to raise awareness, to support survivors, to hold offenders accountable in our community, along with other municipalities across the Commonwealth, and whereas our municipality recognize the importance of life-saving work of the Independence House and Children's Cove located within Barnstable County, and whereas the White Ribbon Day pledges, from this day forward, I promise to be part of the solution in ending violence against women. Be it resolved that Thursday, March 7th, 2019 is proclaimed White Ribbon Day in the town of Wellfleet. That all municipal employees, particularly men, are encouraged to wear a white ribbon during the week. That white ribbon will be available to visitors at the Wellfleet Town Hall and the Wellfleet Police Station, and signed by the Board of Selectmen. There will also be a white ribbon ceremony at the Cape Cod Community College this year. If anybody wishes to go, they have announcements out to the Independence House. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for doing this. Yes, Mr. Powers? Yeah, good.
Chief, for the record, that applause was from me apparently, so thank you. Just some reminders of upcoming deadlines related to the annual town meeting and annual town election process. This Thursday, February 28th, by 4 p.m. is the deadline for anyone to submit citizen petitions for articles to be inserted by citizens on the warrant. Those should be brought into Town Hall, either the administration department on the second floor or the town clerk's office on the first floor before 4 p.m. on Thursday, February 28th. The deadline to take out nomination papers is fast approaching. That deadline is Thursday, March 7th. The town clerk's office will be open until 5 p.m. So again, Thursday, March 7th, 2019, 5 p.m. is the deadline to take out nomination papers. Nomination papers are available for the following positions. Moderator for one position for 1 year. Board of Selectmen, it's 2 positions, 3 years for both of those seats. The Elementary School Committee, 3 years, 1 position. The Board of Library Trustees, 2 positions, 3-year term. Cemetery Commission, 1 position for a 3-year term. Housing Authority, 1 position for a 5-year term. And Constable, 2 positions for the 3-year terms each. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the audience? Hand. Okay, moving along, we will go to public hearings, and I believe has the request for the well been postponed?
Yes,
Yes,
if
okay.
you would do a
Everyone-
motion, because it is a public hearing, to continue
Okay.
this to the March 12th meeting,
I can
that
do
would
that.
be
March
appreciated.
12th? Okay, you got it all right there?
I move to continue the request from the well to March is it the
March
12th? 12th, with regard to their request to closing.
Second?
All in favor? Thank you. We'll take that as a unanimous. And now the liquor license for the Fox and Crow Cafe. Welcome. Would you like to introduce yourselves to the audience and on TV land?
Hi, I'm Tanya Felix. I'm going to be partnering up with Trudy and acting as her general manager.
And I'm Trudy Vermeeren, and I started the cafe last year.
Okay, are there any questions or comments from the board?
No?
Okay, I think the town is looking forward to you opening, or many in the town anyhow.
Thank you. We had hoped to do this when it was practical for us. We've held off on making a leap last year and applying for a license. And our goal is to do something on a smaller scale, mostly serving beer and wine and low to no alcohol drinks as a kind of twist on what a lot of people are already doing. But then we wanted a full liquor license because we're looking to maybe on Sundays or something like that, feature Bloody Mary or, we don't want to be a pub. We're not looking to be that. So if you have any questions.
Good. Kathleen?
Are your hours going to change?
Oh, yeah, well, they'll have to change, yeah.
Do you want to talk about the format for the restaurant going forward?
We will be opening, just in the springtime, we're going to have limited hours, of course, and it's going to take a little time to get through the state for this process as well. So in the springtime, we'll be open in the evenings just for a few nights a week, and then once summer comes, we'll be open 7 nights a week. But we're going to keep a limited menu, and we'll probably be serving probably until, what did we say, 10? I think we said 10, yeah. We want to keep it kind of on the
Okay,
low-key end.
We'll be cooking breakfast as well, so.
I was going to say, you're still open for breakfast. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're not planning on going forward with an entertainment license?
At this time, no. If we were to do any type of music at all, it would be inside and probably acoustic. And we're not, we would always come back and talk to you about that too, because they're our neighbors.
Any questions or comments from the audience? Okay.
Hello. Have you arranged for any parking anywhere?
No, we have not.
Have you thought about talking with the Masons so that when they're not using that lot, it would be available to you?
I could do that, yeah. I don't see our situation being too different from the other locations in town, with the exception of probably the Flying Fish, which does have its own parking. But the Winslow's Tavern and the Lighthouse and
Well, they
other people have pretty limited parking, so I could approach them to find out if they would be amenable to us using their parking lot. I don't know what, I haven't broached that at all with them.
yeah.
Is there a reason?
No, because I wish you the best of luck. I really
Yeah.
do, and
Thank you.
and I'm certainly going to vote for it. I just, people are going to come there, and not everyone's going to walk, and some people are going to want to
Yeah.
park, and that little lot across the street will be available, I guess, to you, along with others who have businesses down there. And so I just thought it would be a good idea, maybe to ask the Masons if you might be able to use that lot when they're not using it.
Yeah,
I know the
that's good.
Lighthouse and Winslow's, but they park up in Main Street, and they park in the town parking lot, and so on and so forth. And some may do that walk down to your business in the summertime. I just think as an idea, it might be
Yeah.
something you might
great,
ask
thank you.
about anyway. That's all.
Good.
All right, thanks.
Anyone from the audience? Okay, hearing none, may I have a motion?
I move to approve the liquor license for the Fox and Crow Cafe.
Is there-
Second?
All in favor? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Oh, does someone collect the green cards from having sent the certified letters?
Oh, yeah, like if people supporting you and all that?
Well, you know, I have to send out certified letters, and I think you
Okay.
need to have
Yeah,
copies
give them
of
to
that.
Courtney,
Okay. I will.
please. Okay, so now we're on to the renewal of shellfish grants, starting with Paul Lalumiere. Is he here? There's Nancy. Is that how I get to pronounce your name?
That's perfect.
Good.
So Paul and Jimmy Clark just did this transfer, was it in the summer? In the fall, from the previous three. So it was Pat and Barbara Woodbury and Linda Taylor, and then it went to Paul Lalumiere and Jimmy Clark, sorry. So really, this is, we're treating this like it was a new grant, because these both are new names to it. So the renewal period should be for 5 years, and we've talked about it, and he agrees.
Okay, so a 5-year renewal.
Not a 10-year?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. Any questions from the board, comments? From the audience? Hearing none, can I have a motion?
I move to approve to renew the Shellfish Grant License Number 741 for a 5-year period for Paul Lalumiere.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, unanimous. Thank you. Thank you for doing a hard job. Okay, and next we have another shellfish renewal, shellfish grant renewal from Bradley Kaplan. Is he here? He's not here.
I
but
don't see
maybe-
him here, so
maybe you
can we
speak
continue
for
this,
him.
please?
You what?
Can we continue this to another time?
Yes. Oh,
I,
Brad and I are supposed to meet, and we haven't met yet.
yes, continue, yes. I
So I
move,
just want, yeah.
yeah.
all right, so we will, can I have a motion to continue this, please?
I move that we continue the application renewal hearing for Bradley Kaplan to the next meeting,
March 12th.
March 12th.
March 12th.
Is there a
I'll
second?
have Jeannie re-advertise it.
If we continue,
have
to?
we do not have to
Okay, great.
re-advertise.
Awesome.
Second?
All in favor? All right, thank you. And then moving on to shellfish renewal grant for Justin Lynch.
So Justin Lynch isn't here, and the grant has 2 people named to it. So this is Evan Kenny, who's also named to
Okay.
the grant.
How you doing?
And this was a new grant, which they just got in the spring.
Yeah.
And I don't know why it came up immediately for renewal, but might as well just go right for the 5 years.
Yeah, okay. Now it says 10-year. 10-year, 5-year?
This is
It's
5 year.
E, 5 years.
Yeah, and just a question, I'm a little slow. So, it was a new grant?
It was the lottery grant, the grant that
Oh,
went to the
right.
lottery.
Sorry,
Yep.
Mr. Lynch. I should
This is
remember.
Evan Kenny.
I mean, Mr. Kenny. Boy, okay, sorry. Yeah. So it was and that's why, it's been a year.
This was done in the spring. Actually, it was like July, right? July, and then he came on in later, and first it went to Justin in July, and then
That's why
Justin
I'm
added
confused.
Evan's name. I don't know why it's up already, but I think putting it for 5 years is fair.
Board, have any other comments?
Madam
Goes
Chair.
out
it
from
matter?
Jeannie. It goes out, so the renewals go out from Jeannie, so she knows
yeah.
the,
Madam Chair, through you to Nancy, it does say desired action renewal for grant number 01-05 for a 10-year period. But then in the motion, it says for a 5-year period.
it should be 5.
Okay, just so that we're making the correct motion.
Okay, well, on the recommendation of the Shellfish Constable, is everybody comfortable with doing it for 5 years?
Yes.
Okay, may I have a motion?
I move to approve to renew Shellfish Grant License Number 01-05 for a 5-year period.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Okay.
And I'm
Are you voting
I'm
first?
actually doing something unusual. I'm abstaining. I'm sure it's all fine. I don't completely get it. It's okay. Yeah, but you're
Okay.
getting it, and my
So-
problem, not your problem.
All right,
So,
So 4 in favor and 1 abstaining.
abstention, yeah, because I don't fully understand.
Very good. Okay, well, we're already on to the fun part. Discussion of Wellfleet Route 6 and Main Street intersection.
Okay.
Wait, you want 2? I didn't hear you. Yes, you do. Yeah, please. And we do have one, if you're going to be standing by your slides thing, we have a handheld one if you want. Or they can move that. Here comes Andrew. Doesn't matter. Thinking on your feet or on your seat is really hard.
Okay, great. Thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight, and thank you for giving us this time to update everyone on where we stand with the analysis for the Route 6 and Main Street Intersections Improvements Project. So my name is Jill McLaughlin. I work for Stantec Consulting Services, and I'm the design project manager for the intersection project, and I'm here with Alan Cloutier, who is our lead traffic engineer. And just a quick overview of what we plan to present today. We're just going to give you an update on where we stand with the project, the 2 design alternatives that we're currently evaluating, with the hope that we get a decision tonight on which design alternative to move forward with. We'll also review the next steps of what we're going to be doing after a design alternative has been chosen for the project, and then we'll open it up for questions and input from everybody here. So this project is a partnership between the town, Mass DOT, the community, regional agencies, and also ourselves, the consultant. We've all been working together on the design for this project, looking at different alternatives, weighing pros and cons to come up with the preferred alternative for the intersection. So this map here shows what our study area is for the project. And our ultimate goal is to improve safety at the Route 6 and Main Street intersection. And it's not just to improve safety for vehicles, we're also looking to improve safety for bicyclists and pedestrians in this area. We know that there are people out there riding their bikes along Route 6, and we also know there's a lot of people walking on the shoulder or within the shoulder in the roadway in this area. And if anybody's familiar with the intersection, you can see a lot of worn paths from people walking along the grass and behind guardrail. And so we want to provide a safe place for people to be walking within this project area. So our project starts to the south at the Route 6 and Way 68 intersection, just across from where the proposed Cape Cod Rail Trail extension terminus is going to be. And we continue north up through the Route 6 and Main Street intersection, past the pharmacy, just past the bank on the east side of Route 6. So this map here shows us where all of our environmental constraints are within the corridor. And basically what this means is that anything that we're proposing to add to what's out there today could potentially impact sensitive resources within the project area. So on the east side, so this is Route 6 here, Main Street's coming off here, and then this is heading towards Provincetown here. So on the east side of Route 6, we have a couple of cemeteries, the Duck Creek Cemetery and the Our Lady Lourdes Cemetery, and we also have a wetland pocket over next to PJ's. On the west side, we have a couple of wetland areas, also a big giant salt marsh area, some flood zone areas, and we're also within the historic district on the Main Street area and have several historic sites within this corridor. So we're looking to make improvements, but we're also looking to avoid impacts to all of these resources while we make those improvements. So this map here shows the project area and what we have for the existing conditions, so what's out there today. There are no accommodations for pedestrians today, no sidewalk within the project area, and very limited bicycle access provisions provided. So on the approaches leading up to the intersection, these little orange line segments here show where we have bike accommodations, and that is just within the shoulder of Route 6 itself. And so anytime we have a shoulder that's over 5 feet wide, we can consider that a bike lane, and I'm using air quotes. But then what happens is, for the existing condition today, once we start to widen out at this intersection to form the 2 lanes that go through the intersection in both the eastbound and westbound directions on Route 6, we lose that shoulder. So there isn't anywhere for bikes to go as they're traveling through this intersection. So our project is going to aim to fill in that gap and make sure it's continuous through the intersection. So this image here just shows us a little closer view of what the existing condition is today. So for Route 6 heading towards Provincetown, eastbound direction, we have a single lane approach that widens to 2 lanes at the intersection. The 2 lanes carry through, and then once you get through the intersection, it drops back down to 1 lane. We have the same configuration in the southbound direction, and we also have a left turn lane on Route 6 to Main Street. One of the earlier action items of this project, or the reason why this became a project, is because we're seeing a lot of high crashes for vehicles turning left from Route 6 heading in the westbound direction, turning into the pharmacy. And that's really what started this project and why this became a project, in addition to wanting to provide for pedestrians and bicyclists. So that's one of the key objectives that we're looking to resolve. So in looking at all of the factors to date, in June of 2018, we had actually come to present to the community 2 alternatives that we had worked out with the town and Mass DOT, one of them being a roundabout and the other being a signalized intersection. And the signalized intersection design alternative was chosen. And so at that presentation, the signalized intersection alternative carried a single lane on Route 6 in the northbound direction, so we eliminated the widening to 2 lanes through this intersection. But in the southbound direction, to keep certain levels of service for traffic through the intersection, we ended up keeping the 2-lane configuration. And at that meeting back in June of 2018, what we heard from the community is that people were concerned that we were still having that 2-lane heading in the westbound direction. And they asked that we go back and reevaluate whether or not that 2nd lane was actually needed or really needed. Which is why we're here today, to kind of update you on that analysis and what the implications would be if we were to move forward with the single lane. And the reason why people wanted us to consider revising this to just a single lane in the westbound direction is because the 2 lanes today act as a raceway. So anytime there are slower moving vehicles coming to this area, because Route 6 is a 1 lane leading up to the intersection, and then on the other side of the intersection, there are some people that will use this to race past slower moving vehicles, which is a safety concern. So this graphic here shows what our 1-lane concept is, and I think before I get into the features of what's specific to this 1-lane concept, I'll go over quickly what's common between the 2 alternatives. So what are we doing that's the same with both alternatives, and then I'll go over with what the differences are. So for pedestrian access with both alternatives, we're going to be providing a sidewalk on the westbound side of Route 6. And so that sidewalk will begin at our southern project limit, which is going to be near the Way 68 intersection, and it'll continue up to the Main Street intersection. We'll provide a crosswalk for pedestrians across Main Street, and then the sidewalk will continue on Main Street on the north side to our limits of work on Main Street. Or we also have another crosswalk that will bring pedestrians over to a shared use path that we're providing on the eastbound side. And so on the eastbound side for pedestrian and bicycle access, we are proposing for both alternatives a 10-foot shared use path that runs the entire length of the project limits for our project. And this shared use path will be separated 5 feet from the roadway with a grass strip buffer. So for both concepts, the 1-lane or 2-lane alternative, we're going to be maintaining a single lane for Route 6 eastbound approach instead of widening to 2 like it does with the existing condition today. We'll provide a left turn pocket for traffic traveling eastbound or westbound on Route 6, turning left to Cahoon Hollow Road. We have a left turn pocket for traffic on Route 6, turning onto Main Street. And then for our Main Street, we have a right turn lane and we'll have a through left turn lane. And the through lane is just for people on Main Street to access the pharmacy. So those features will be the same with both alternatives. The difference between the two alternatives is just within the Route 6 westbound approach. So for the 1-lane concept, we keep the Route 6 approach at 1 lane. That eliminates the raceway effect. And then this is just a closer image of what the intersection improvements look like, where we show the 1 lane here, the left turn pocket for the pharmacy, right and through left lanes for the Main Street traffic. And then for Route 6 eastbound, we have the single lane with the left turn lane for traffic. So for the 2-lane concept, we meet the existing 1-lane approach, widen to 2 lanes, allow 2 lanes of traffic to come through past the Cahoon Hollow Road left turn pocket, and then just south of Pine Point Road, we drop it down to 1 lane. So this, I don't know if you remember the earlier graphic that I had showed that had showed all the environmental constraints within these areas. So on this side here, we had the salt marsh, we have the 2 cemeteries here. With this alternative, in order to fit this wider section, we do have to propose narrower shoulders and will likely need some additional retaining walls to avoid impacts to the salt marsh and wetlands that are on the west side of Route 6. And this just shows a closer image of what the intersection configuration would look like with the 2-lane concepts. So geometrically, the concepts they provide the same features. Both concepts have the shared use path on the east side of Route 6. We provide the sidewalk in the same location for both concepts. Left turn lane on Route 6 eastbound with the single through lane on Route 6 eastbound. The real difference being the second lane in the westbound direction. In order to, I guess where we're seeing the biggest difference between these two alternatives is our traffic analysis. By providing 2 lanes with this concept, we're able to process more traffic through the intersection with this alternative than we are with the 1-lane alternative. And so Alan's here to present what the impact to traffic would be for the 1-lane versus the 2-lane alternative.
Good evening, everybody. And I guess before I kind of jump into some of the stuff, I just want to essentially reiterate some of what we've already said and some of the discussion we've had with MassDOT. We've provided them with a lot of analysis as far as the 2 options. They both are viable options, which is why ultimately we need a decision. Jill and I, we could design either one, but we're not going to be driving through here twice a day, every day, like you guys will. Same with MassDOT, they really wanted this to be a town of Wellfleet decision on what do they want. And there are some differences. And kind of before I get into the next slide, which actually have a lot of numbers, I just kind of want to mention one thing that's driving is the whole design for this intersection is the volumes. Where are they turning? So right now, there's a lot of traffic that's actually going, I tend to say northbound when I'm dealing here. The northbound left onto Main Street, it's very heavy. The northbound through is pretty heavy, the southbound through is heavy, and the Main Street right turn. Now the thing is, some of those can overlap. So the northbound through can go at the same time as the northbound lefts, and it can go at the same time as the southbound through. So it actually gets a lot of time at the signal, which is why we only need 1 lane. 1 lane works great. I don't know why they designed 2 lanes when it was done years ago, but it only needs 1 lane. Coming southbound, however, you have a pretty heavy volume the through, they can't go at the same time as the northbound lefts, of course. So they get less time at the signal. So that's kind of where we're seeing a difference between these different options. And then even the Main Street, that right turn can go at the same time as the northbound right turn. So that actually operates pretty well. So now I'm going to get into a bunch of numbers, but there's not going to be a quiz at the end. I'm not going to make anybody do any math. So,
Sir, could you step back, please?
sorry, I always get in the way of everything.
Thank you.
So really, I'm just going to talk about a little bit about how these things are going to operate, the one or the two lane options. And we were asked by MassDOT to run a lot of different scenarios, but some of them we can get through pretty quickly. So this first table is really summer months during the morning peak hour. And the top table is what's happening in 2018. The bottom one is 2030, so a little bit of a projection into the future. So during the morning, one lane, oops, wrong button. During the morning, hold on, just making sure I get the right button there. You know, it's almost no difference between the one lane and the two lane alternative. We got 18 seconds or 15 seconds. It's going to operate well during the morning. Not an issue. We can kind of move on to the afternoon. Now, during the summer, during the afternoon is actually when there is a noticeable difference between the one lane and the two lane. So if we kind of just mostly jump ahead to the 2030, with one lane, the average delay was going to be about 51 seconds. Kind of to back up a step two, which I didn't do an introduction. When we look at analysis of intersections, how are things going to operate? We look at the volumes. We do try to estimate how much is going to be the delay for drivers coming through that intersection, both overall average and then even very particular movements. And then we also give them a grade, A through F, kind of like a report card. But sometimes a delay is something that people can kind of picture too. And then we could also measure how long the queue length is. So with one lane, it's going to be 51 seconds on average. Now, some of them are going to operate worse, like the southbound through. It's going to be on average about 74 seconds. With the two lanes, we actually cuts down quite a bit, so it'll be about 25 seconds. So this is during the summer, during the PM, there is a difference. I'm kind of putting all the information on the table. So this is kind of showing a little bit of the same information, just a little graphically. So one lane over here, two lanes over here. So if you're coming southbound, you're going to be waiting on average over a minute during the PM, during the summer. A little less than half a minute coming southbound. If you'll notice the through volume, going northbound, it really doesn't matter. You're 4 or 5 seconds. They get a lot of the green time. And then the left turn matters as well, just because these guys are competing for the same amount of time. So if we were just looking at that hour, basically the decision would be made, we'd be doing a two lane. However, we got other hours of the day, other days of the week, other months of the year. So that's kind of why we're trying to really give the full picture of what's going to be going on. During a Saturday is actually a little bit higher overall volumes than it is during the PM. However, what happens is they're distributed a little bit differently. They're not necessarily on those two critical movements, so it operates better. We start having a little bit of, unlike the AM where there's almost nothing, there's a little bit of a difference. It's, if we look down here, 31 seconds with one lane, 21 seconds with a two lane. So a little bit of a difference. Not as big as during the afternoon, but yet it's not nothing like it is in the morning. So kind of just little bullet points. Single southbound lane works well during the morning. It's at a D, not so great in the evening. And I kind of already mentioned about Saturday. This is my little reminder so I don't forget to tell you guys this. So on a Saturday has a better operations than a weekday afternoon. Now, a big thing that comes up, well, what about the other months? It's not always summertime. It's not right now. So we also looked at non-summer months. So we used some adjustment factors to kind of look at what the volumes are the other 9 months of the year. And we ran it, this is all for a single lane, because if a single lane works, so does a double lane. So during the off-season, we're at that, even with a single lane, sorry, we'll look at 2030 over here, we're at that 29, 25 seconds on average. So during the non-summer months, even a single lane will work. The question is, how much, do we want to drive the 2-lane because we know it works during the summer, or are we, how are we fine with single lane? Now it comes to safety a little bit. Jill actually already touched upon a lot of these. If you have a single southbound lane, you don't have that racing effect that you kind of do now. I mean, right now you actually have it in both directions.
Yeah.
But if you have a double, you'll still kind of have a little bit of it in the southbound direction. So you won't have that racing. And there was at least one that we observed when looking through the data for the road safety audit that was sideswiped that we could definitely say was because of the 2-lane. Not too many crashes could we directly attribute to that, but one of them we were able to. You also don't have to merge once you get through the intersection. So now when you're coming out of Cahoon Hollow Road, if it's a single lane, it's going to be easier to judge when you can take a left. If I just ran a capacity analysis, it might say you could do fine with a double. You're going to actually have a little bit more gaps if it's double, but trying to judge 2 lanes of traffic is a little difficult when you're trying to take a left. It's worse now because you have that really wide northbound approach, so you have that much more pavement to kind of judge in than you would under either of these 2 options. But that is definitely a difference. So kind of conclusion of all the information I told you, 2-lane operates a lot better during the summer, especially during the afternoon. But during the non-summer months, it operates okay with a single lane. The single southbound lane does have some safety benefits, which I kind of just highlighted on. And really, we're kind of here to try to hear from the town of what should we go forward with. I guess I do have another slide. So next steps, we basically need a decision on the configuration, and then we're going to move forward with a 25% design submission, and then ultimately design public hearing for the project, which is part of the MassDOT process. Go turn that over to, I guess, questions and input.
Okay, so I'll open it up to the board first. Okay, Helen?
A number of things. Thank you for coming tonight. This didn't start recently. This started, what, 7 or 9 years ago?
Yeah.
Okay. And the first time you came to us, we talked about some of this, and some of the things that were brought up that you haven't mentioned is the fact that people are going to use both sides of Route 6 throughout that strip and anywhere on Route 6 on bicycles, whether or not you direct them to go to this place or that place. That's the first thing. The second thing is what we all know in this room, most of us, is that it's good I'm fascinated by the rating of how it slows down in there, but everybody slows down in that intersection. So one of the things that had already been discussed was to have single lanes there, right? Mm-hmm. One of the biggest things we asked for, it was sort of the first thing, was a left-hand signal at that light. And it's the middle of winter. I drive very carefully in that intersection. I was almost hit by a little black car coming from the south when I tried to turn into the Outer Cape Pharmacy. You were told about this very clearly. And please, if safety is your goal, why did the state not give us that left-hand signal years ago? It would have been so simple. We really need it. And when you talk about actual crashes that are documented, as I said at another time when you showed up, it isn't the crashes, it's all the narrow misses at that intersection. The other thing is that if you're going to have sidewalks, I personally wouldn't use them. I'd be behind the car rail, the guardrail, because a sidewalk that's right there on the side of the road, and by the way, I hope you're absolutely planning, if you have any sidewalks, to have the 45-degree angle on the curb so a bicycle in an emergency situation can hop up onto the sidewalk. If you have those 90-degree curb stones, that is really dangerous for bicycles. So what my opinion, having thought about it long and hard, as have many people in this room, is to have throughout that intersection on either side of Route 6 the kind of breakdown lane you have all along Route 6 except for certain places. Particularly in the place where you're coming from the south, you've got the pond on your right, and you're going to turn right onto Main Street. There, it pinches down to almost nothing. And my memory of the first discussion of designs was, and you haven't mentioned it, was taking out the cement thing in the middle to make more rooms for the two lanes going north and south, okay? The other thing is, and there have been a lot of meetings about this, and then I'll be done, is that the idea of having 2 lanes for bicycles on the east side of those intersections with all those curb cuts and all the people turning in and out, you should have heard the property owners, the business owners there. Remember, you are the experts at design, and we are the experts for that stretch of road. You really don't want bicycles going in 2 directions, going through all those curb cuts and turnoffs along that strip. In fact, nowhere along that strip all the way to, Cahoon Hollow, to LeCount Hollow Road. I know it wasn't going to go that far, but okay. And the other thing is, you didn't discuss much what's happening in the turnoff to East Main Street. I'm not sure that sidewalks there would really help things that much, because people have to get farther back, and there isn't enough clearance on the side for sidewalks. I would want to be more removed from the road there, and if anything, I just want a grass berm to walk on. A sidewalk there, again, is more difficult for bicycles. You want as much room there in those lanes for bicycles, and we want to be bicycle friendly. And I would like a shero every 10 feet practically, just to let people know we're using this for bicycles too. You have to slow down. Okay, that's it for my first
First time, right, first comments. Kathleen?
I don't know where to start. Let's go back to why we approached you in the beginning. Was that light signal? And tonight you haven't mentioned what really that crosswalk would look like, and is there a button on that light signal that's going to allow traffic to be stopped by an individual that wants to cross?
Yeah.
My first question.
Sure. You're right. So a number of things I probably skipped over because I was trying to go to, what do I need a decision on? So as far as the intersection, to kind of go a little bit into the design right now. Right now there's some median islands that are in the middle there. Those are going to be taken out. Instead of having, obviously with no islands, we couldn't have posts anyways in the middle of them. We're going to have overhead mast arms where all the traffic signal heads would be on. We will have crossings across Route 6 on both sides of the intersection and a crosswalk across Main Street. They'll have push buttons, pedestrian signal heads. When you push it, it'll be red lights, and you're going to get the pedestrian signal to cross. So this is going to be a place to cross Route 6, whereas right now it's difficult to cross Route 6.
And might you consider in this design taking the bicycles and pedestrian crossing out of that intersection and going a little bit past Outer Cape Health Pharmacy towards Old Kings Highway and having it cross there? Yes.
Well, what about the light, though? Because
We
you
could-
could cross when the light is red.
Janet, just let me
Okay.
put that on the table. That would take some of the congestion out of that intersection. If we could have a crossing area with its own yellow flashing light, just a little bit further down from the intersection towards Old Kings Highway.
So you're talking about going a little bit further up north, right?
Yes.
Which I don't know if we should.
Right past, no, north.
No, but I think north further.
Yeah, it would be right at the, right at the end of the parking lot, really, of the pharmacy, the north side of the pharmacy.
perhaps something could be added, being that that's a signal, that's a main street, I definitely would still encourage, put a pedestrian crossing here because we want a safe place for pedestrians to cross.
Right.
And having them at a traffic light is about as good of a location as we could have them crossing.
Right. Whether this project becomes 1 lane or 2 lane, I'm going to leave to the chief of police here and the fire chief here for my help on making that decision. But what I want to make clear to you is, at no time in the summer months, whether this project is 1 lane or 2 lane, at no time in the summer months, whether there's judging a gap in a better way, guess what? Can you not make a left turn out of Cahoon Hollow Road? It just doesn't happen. No matter what the scenario is going to be, you're still not going to be able to make a left turn out of that road during the summer months.
It's very heavy volume.
Yeah. Oh, anyway, thank you.
Any of these other board members? Okay, so I will open it up to the public. I think it may be good to start off with abutters and businesses. But Steve, if you want to go, you're always anxious to go or excited to go, so you could start it. But, we could hear from the people that are stakeholders that are living right there, and certainly the businesses that have observed this every day for a number of years. And please introduce yourself.
So I'm Steve Oliver. Through you, Madam Chair, I'd like to ask a question of these two that I wasn't clear on. They were talking about a sidewalk from the intersection down towards the Ghost Bike. Were you not
Yes,
talking
on
about
that side of the road too,
Then
right?
you were talking about a crosswalk to the parking lot. Is that what you're talking about there?
There will be a crosswalk at the intersection, the signalized intersection.
All right, so you're taking the sidewalk from the lights down to where the parking lot would be for the bike trail. Is that right?
No.
You're not going that far?
There will not be a crossing there.
Okay, that was my question, because I wasn't clear on that. I didn't think there would be a crossing there. Okay. Thank you I have one comment, if I may.
Okay.
Okay. So the proposed bike path on the highway in the most congested and accident-prone section in Wellfleet will be a hazard to everyone. The state is showing an absolute disregard for human life with this plan. An alternative route away from this section of highway must be found. No bike path on Route 6 in this area will be worth the inevitable tragedies resulting from it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
David Mead Fox. My wife and I live just down Pine Point Road, so it feels like we're in a butter because we come out every time we leave our house into that intersection there, and the sidewalk would go right down there. So I actually think the big choice about the 1 lane, 2 lane is throughput versus safety. It seems
Is
to
what?
me-
Say that.
Throughput, speed, how
Throughput.
many cars can go
Okay.
through versus safety. And
Okay.
if we go with safety, which I'm in favor of, yes, there'll be a bigger backup of cars, but it will be much safer because of the racing effect, because of the ability for people to get out into traffic more easily. And also, people will be squeezing down to 1 lane. It looks like right about where Pine Point comes out on one side, Cahoon Hall on the other. So you got 2 roads coming in, people squeezing in. To me, it is a kind of a no-brainer to go with the 1 lane option for the safety reasons and because of the roads set up there. The bicycle issue is a larger one. I think what we need to remember, I get the concerns about safety and that's been discussed, but we need to remember right now, people ride their bikes up and down Route 6 all the time. And if there's a larger area marked off, it seems to me, regardless of the issues, I get the turning into I might see it all the time, we live right there. I get the turning in issues, but now it's the least safe, it seems to me, because people are walking and riding up and down both directions, no protection, no bike lane, no nothing. And to me, what we have now is the worst. And if we could have a wider area with a barrier protecting the bikes, still got problems, but better than we have today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Evening. My name's Tom Flynn. I live right there next to the pharmacy. You can see the little white squiggle coming in. And north.
Yeah.
There's a little road that comes in
So
there.
just
It's-
north of the pharmacy.
Yes. It's euphemistically
Okay, yeah.
called the highway. It's barely a dirt road. But I listen all year long there with your drag race effect. And I hear the horns, the tires squealing, sometimes even the shouting at each other. I don't think that, I agree with the previous speaker, that is really worth doing. As Helen said, the number of near misses there are crazy. The second thing is, one of the problems you have with the light that is there, and I was glad you say that no matter what happens, you hope to put a overhead beam. People do not see that left turn red. You're sitting there, the beam is up here, the lights are there's two of them, which you think you're on the road, and they turn green, the guy next to you starts to move, and instinctively people start to move. And there's how many of these off-angle that like Helen lived through comes there because the light is still red, but you got that little dinky light that's out of the pattern of what you're looking for. So that's very difficult to deal with. I disagree with the previous speaker on the point of whatever we get is better than what we have now for bicyclists. The problem I see coming is we have, I think I counted them, I think there's 10 or 11 curb cuts there, and putting up a barrier would be, I don't know how the hell you would do it. You're going to put Jersey barriers there with little places where you're going to turn in, the place would just shut down. And it also wouldn't help the bicyclists any, I don't think, with the people turning in now with a barrier there. But the point is, if we do the extension, I know that's not a topic of this evening, but it's something on the horizon, and I'm sure it's in the back of your minds. We're going to be dumping far more bicyclists in there, and they're not going to be roadworthy bicyclists. The people that ride there now ride there to work, or they ride there, for exercise routinely. They ride on the highway. If you've ever seen a family on the bicycle trail, we got a mother that rides for exercise. We have a father that's going along just because the family's going. We have a little kid on a 20-inch bike wiggling all over the track, and a kid a little older on another 20-inch bike doing wheelies. Now that is far more hazardous than the people that ride there now. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think I took it out. Hi,
Or tip it down.
Take it right out of the
Barbara,
holder,
tip it
Barbara.
down.
Take it out?
Yeah.
I'll just
Oh,
take it
that,
out.
okay.
I'm going to sing now. No. My name is Barbara Boone, and I just have through you, Madam Chair, I have a question about, honestly, the logistics of how they're envisioning this bike lane with the grass strip. Because I honestly can't picture it, as the previous speaker said, with the curb cuts in mind. And I just see visions of people running over the grass strip. And also, you mentioned pedestrians as well. As we know, they will use it. So I just would logistically like a little more information of how they truly envision that.
Yeah, could you explain that more then?
Sure, I think I'll go in a little bit and Jill could fill in what I left out. And I kind of wish I brought a sample. In fact, I might somewhere on my computer. So essentially when you're doing a shared use path near the road, a lot of times they call it a side path. So what we would do is it would be a 10-foot wide asphalt path. We need to have a buffer between the roadway. So it's actually going to be between the path and the curbing for the road is a 5-foot grass or landscaped buffer. So that way you actually have some distance between any vehicles and yourself. It also gives more room when you actually have curb cuts coming in or out for people to really, for visibility's sake. Bicyclists to see any cars turning in and out, cars turning in and out to see bicyclists. And the other thing I guess to keep in mind too is, in addition, it would be 5 foot to the curb, then we would also still have usually about a 5-foot shoulder still, except for the areas of the cemetery, between the vehicular lane and that. So you're really going to be riding essentially about, 9 to 10 feet away from the nearest car. Let's see, what did I miss? Add curb cuts is definitely a concern. We want to put pavement markings, signage to try to alert both the people on the bikes about curb cuts and then also any drivers. Sometimes we put green paint at the crossings themselves to really highlight what's going on. We wouldn't necessarily do the whole lane as green paint because, maintenance reasons and cost reasons, but we really would want to highlight the crossings. Some of these curb cuts that might be really wide might need to be narrowed a little bit just to kind of, not to eliminate any movements that can be made, but just to kind of control it so that it's more predictable where people are turning in and turning out. It'd be good to do it anyways, but especially when you're introducing people coming really two directions on this path. And it would be shared use, so it would be open for pedestrians, bicyclists.
Can
yeah.
I just follow
Sure.
up with that just a moment? So my further question is, obviously, we're addressing the idea of the safety of all these curb cuts and the summer peak traffic. And what I honestly can't comprehend is, even as well Felicians, at the end of the day, we've gotten our PJs fixed, we're trying to get out, and I'm trying to imagine any of us crossing a bike lane and then getting left or right onto Route 6 without either hindering all the bike and pedestrian traffic, because you get out that far, and then you've missed your gap because you've gotten out that far, and then you still got to negotiate your way out onto Route 6. And I honestly, for the Select Board, I don't see a practical way that really will function. With the amount of traffic that we do get in and out of PJs, Cumbies, all of those businesses along there. So I'm hoping for a better and more clear alternative to that than something that seems like a continued risk factor for the pedestrians and the bicyclist in that scenario.
Yeah. Some of it would be kind of how you mentioned. It would almost be doing one thing then the next. So if you come up and there's nobody there, you're going to come up, you were there first. So if there was a bicyclist coming, they're going to have to either wait or maybe go around behind you. That's where you got this low speed. You guys, everybody needs to work together. We're all, trying to get along. This is going to be definitely a slower type facility. The people that are out there that are flying on Route 6 on the bicyclists that are really cruising now, right now it's, as I mentioned, it's pretty bad that you have the bike, let's call it a bike shoulder, I guess, right now, and then you got nothing. You go up a little further, you have something. They're going to have something the whole way. So if they plan on staying at 25 miles an hour, they're probably just going to stay where they are, especially if they were going in the southbound direction. This is going to be more the slower speed people, the people who choose to take it. Some people who are, walking strollers. So in a way, especially when you're dealing with people who are walking, it's not anything different than if you were pulling out across any type of sidewalk that was crossing a driveway.
Hi, I'm Dale Donovan. I don't live anywhere near this, thank goodness, but I think everybody in town uses it. It's already been mentioned that the real problem that's going to be created here is coming from the bike path extension. These plans are your classic, hi kids, do you want broccoli or would you like Brussels sprouts? There's a third alternative, and that is do nothing. You've cited one accident as a reason for all of this. You've stated that the curb cuts will be narrowed. I can recall a traffic meeting in Eastham, and their then police chief said most of the accidents that they have are rear-ending because they have curbs and cars stop more quickly to get in there. You've got all of those businesses there. Do you really think there's going to be a sharing of the entries to those businesses by the cars who want to go in from the left, cars coming in to the right, and the bicycles coming by? and the cars will be going 45 miles an hour. I think this is a complete disaster, and I repeat, nothing would be better.
Just want to make one
up to the
one
microphone.
clarification. As far as the crashes and why we're here, that was one crash specifically that was a side swipe crash coming in the southbound direction, where between the 2 lanes or 1 lane, that would definitely make a difference. This intersection does actually have a high crash history on the Cape. It was part of a road safety audit conducted a few years ago, so there actually is a number of crashes that have occurred at this intersection. For various reasons. Somebody mentioned earlier about the left turn into the pharmacy is difficult, not just for people taking the left, but if you're going northbound left and sometimes that person taking left blocks your view of somebody else coming through. There are definitely a lot of existing safety issues with this intersection.
I just wanted to add to, I think the timing of this project is a little bit complicated because it's connected to but a separate project from the Cape Cod Rail Trail Extension project. And from what I'm hearing from everybody, it sounds like the concern is more the terminus for the Cape Cod Rail Trail. With our project, because it's a Mass DOT project, we're required to provide bicycle access along this corridor. Regardless of what the Cape Cod Rail Trail Extension project is doing, it has to be there. And so access for bicyclists would either be a 5 or 6 foot bike lane on Route 6 or through a separate shared use path. We don't have the option to not provide access for bicyclists and pedestrians.
Just wait for the people. Yes.
Hi, I'm Andy Freeman. I'm not going to talk a lot about all of the reasons why I'm opposed to this, because as you've just said, you've got to do it. And I'm an avid cyclist. I ride that piece of road a lot. But the problem is, if you set this up, which you say you have an obligation to do, what you're going to do in conjunction with ending the bike trail where it's proposed to end and dump out onto Route 6 is to encourage riders who aren't careful, who aren't capable, who are going to be in trouble for all the reasons that everybody has said. With the left turns in the summer, young children are going to be at great risk. And so it's the combination of the two. I'm all in favor of increasing safety on Route 6. There's virtually no shoulder right there now. I know, I ride all the time there. But what is going to happen is we're going to create a nuisance. And so I think that that has to be considered. Thank you.
Thank you for coming tonight. I too am unalterably opposed to this plan for all the reasons stated. I've lived in Wellfleet for almost 40 years now on the ocean side of Route 6, had a business on the town side of Route 6, so I have had to negotiate through winter, summer, spring, fall, this intersection. I know a great deal about it, and I'm sure that you've been hearing plenty from others about that. I'm going a little left field here because in today's Cape Cod Times, there is an article with a headline, Eastham seeks Route 6 answers. This is not a surprise to any of us. They, the figures there, they give their crash rates and their 30,000 vehicle runs in the summer. That's not a surprise. Actually, there's 50,000 people that make the trek through Wellfleet, through Eastham, through Wellfleet, up to Provincetown just for the fireworks. If you don't like fireworks, you just stay away from it. But in any case, what I'm concerned about a bit, Eastham is looking at Route 6 not where you might think. They're concerned about where the road meets Wellfleet's town line. There is a huge backup there almost every day from maybe June, but certainly July and August and into September, because the road goes from 2 lanes in each direction to 1 in each direction. I think that once people get through that, and you can sit there and bake in your car for 15 to 20 minutes, once people get past that and get up to Wellfleet, they gun it. And that's one of the reasons you see racing there in the summer. I've seen it. I wish that we didn't have to consider the outer Cape in piecemeal fashion, because Route 6 is not piecemeal. It is a straight shot. It is our main artery. It is our only transportation. About 3, 4, maybe 5 years ago now, there was a serious accident in South Wellfleet. Traffic backed up for 5 hours. My business was affected. Many businesses were affected. Yes, it was a one-time, God willing, a one-time happening. There is no alternative but that road. So I know that you're hired to do the Wellfleet intersection, but at the same time, Eastham is contacting now. They're in touch with the planner for the Cape Cod Commission, transportation planner. It would be nice if the state could look at Route 6 on the outer Cape as a through road, which it is. You have to navigate many intersections, many curb cuts, I should say, and then the Wellfleet intersection. And what happens on the way from Orleans to Eastham affects the Wellfleet intersection. I wish you would just enlarge your thinking about that.
So Mara, I don't understand what you're suggesting.
Well, I feel like I can hardly suggest a more regional approach to Route 6 as a whole, not just the intersection, but the way Route 6 itself impacts the whole life of the Outer Cape. That's beyond your scope now, I understand that, but I'm just putting it out there. It's a shame that we do this piecemeal.
I'll agree.
Okay.
I am not in a butter. However, I use the intersection several times a day usually. And I would say to
Wait,
you...
oh, excuse Roger, you have to say your name.
Oh, excuse me. My name is Roger Putnam, and I live on Old Wharf Road in South Wellfleet. And I feel very strongly that what's been offered here right now is an excuse for more accidents. Can you conceive of a one-lane Route 6 northbound, and you're trying to come out of PJ's and make a turn into that traffic in the summertime? You can't do it. You're going to make a turn out of Cahoon Hollow Road in any direction with one lane of traffic squeezed up going northbound? No way. To my mind, go back to where we stand right now. We got a pretty good game going right now, and leave the rail trail alone. If you take the traffic, bicycle traffic in that comes up in South Wellfleet and send it out Cahoon Hollow Road and along Ocean View Drive and bring it back out on Route 6 at Gull Pond Road, you will avoid downtown altogether and save all this kind of a mess that we're looking at right now, which is nothing more than an invitation for disaster if you make that a one-lane northbound road. Think of what's going to happen coming in and out of Cumbies if that's a one-lane northbound road. It ain't going to work. Thank you.
So, so both Mimi and Lyle Butts are here if they want to address the curb cut. You want to do that? You want to do that? I'm going to let Mimi go first, Steve.
Yes, I was
And
surprised
talk a
that-
little more into the microphone, and please
identify
state your
yourself.
name.
My name is Mimi Butts, and I'm sorry. My name is Mimi Butts. My husband runs Bay Sales Marine. We've been here many, many years, 46 at least. I just want to refresh your memory about the businesses that are on there. We've got Kinlan Grover, that's very busy on Saturdays because people are picking up their rentals. We've got Bay Sales Marine, which brings not only cars in and out, but boats and trailers in and out. Things that we are taking down to the pier, customers who are bringing their boats to us for repair. So it's not something, I don't want to say as simple as, but it's more than just a car going in and out at that point. We've got a new Cumberland Farms going in, which is, if you've seen it now, it's not going to look anything like that. It's going to be much larger. Cars are going to be in and out of it. We've got Jack's Boat Rental. We've got people going in and out, putting boats on top of their cars and taking those out. We've got PJ's, arguably one of the busiest restaurants in town. For a state that talks about curb cuts on other occasions, there's a very big silence at this point. I think it's the wrong route. Thank you.
Thanks.
Hi, my name is Stephen Polevchuk, and I live on Old Trail Road.
Pull it up or take it out of there.
My name is Stephen Polevchuk, and I live on Old Trail Road on the way to the dump or the transfer station. It seems to me that your project is contingent, the bike path project is contingent on the Board of Selectmen voting to figure out what to do with the Main Street intersection. Is that correct?
No, I think they're completely separate projects.
They're separate.
And I don't know if I need you talking to the microphone. So they are.
There we go.
They are separate projects. In fact, this project was happening before the bike path. Now, where they, and one doesn't necessarily come before the other one or have to come before the other one, except that when we're doing ours, we should obviously keep in mind what's going to be happening down there. So I think originally our project limits weren't going to be quite as far. And then, of course, we would have had a few 100-foot gap, which isn't good for anybody. So neither one is contingent upon the other. No matter what, we need to improve bicycling and pedestrian accommodations through our project. It's just that knowing that that other project doesn't influence 2 lanes or one, because we can fit in we could fit in bicycle accommodations under either accommodation. It just it's more the other things that were happening.
All right, forget it then.
So I just want to ask people something. I think everybody here would agree that presently it has been difficult to make a left-hand turn out of Cahoon Hollow Road in the summer. Would everyone agree with that? So I live in South Wellfleet, and I have a hard time, but I don't have that hard of a time, but I also don't have to go at peak beach time. So we already have a problem there. It sounds like, from what I've heard from many people, is that we do have a problem with bikers and walkers at all times of the day. It's pretty scary, right, at times. We have had one fatality in that area that I know of the young man on the bicycle. We do have a lot of fender benders and near misses at the intersection. And yes, it's, so Wellfleet, as every town on the Cape, as probably every resort town, or Boston. Boston has 3-foot wide bike paths, if they're even that wide. So people, we really kind of have to accommodate them. I would be really amazed. So I'm a mother and a stepmother who had 4 children growing up in this town. And they biked all the time. Of course, they would take the bike roads when they could. They were longer, they were maybe more hilly, but they would take them. But at some point, if you're going to work in town, you got to bike on Route 6. So my point is that we already have a problem, okay? And there's more people coming. There's more people coming all the time because there's more people. So I would like to hear what people might suggest for safety, and I really think it's important. So that's what I was going to say. As a mother, I never took my children under 14, maybe 13, I forget. I never said, let's turn off and go down Route 6 together. I would never take my 3-year-old on the back of my bike down Route 6. You just don't do it. There's a certain amount of common sense there. And I'm sure that you have to keep the bike trail separate from the bikers on Route 6. And many of the bikers, I'll look at some bikers here, and you bike for exercise, you're gonna, if you can, you're gonna go down Ocean View Drive. That's part of your biking exercise, is to take the more scenic roads. So I would really like to hear from people what their solutions are for safety, for the people who work at restaurants at night and are biking at night on Route 6 to get home, or walking on Route 6 to get home. You know, and that's part of my thing with the bike trails. It's really would be great. And I know that they use it in Eastham to get home at night. So what are some of the solutions? Should we just ban biking? How's that, Dale?
I would, that would be my preference, but I would suggest
I know.
a very obvious solution: reduce the speed limits on Route 6 to 30 or 35 miles an hour from South Wellfleet, Old County Road, up
Eastham.
into the Truro line, and
So that's
see that
actually a
it's
very-
enforced, because then the cars are at least going a little slower,
Yes.
more reaction time. I can tell you that when the speed limit on Route 6 was reduced by just 5 miles an hour between Wellfleet and Provincetown, it saved my life one time, because somebody was passing in an ill-advised fashion, and I was going at a speed that allowed me to avoid it. So yes, get the state to lower the speed limit. They seem to
Yeah.
come up with lots of money for all sorts of other things, but something simple like that, they won't do.
Well,
They've spent
yeah.
millions of dollars on a bridge in Dennis. They've spent millions of dollars on a tunnel in Eastham to make things safer.
That's the DCR.
Aren't we
Okay.
good enough?
So that's a really good
Do
good
nothing till
suggestion.
they can do it right.
That's a really simple, good, easy suggestion. How do you like that, Chief Facette? No, it's just
Yeah,
a question.
I'd like Chief Facette to.
Madam Chair.
We're going to have Chief Facette weigh in on all this first. You can still go up, Barbara.
All right, I'm not sure if I'm going to weigh in on all of that. That's a lot
Yeah.
to cover and things like that.
And there's-
A couple concerns that I have and that are out there is the curb cuts. When this was designed, the intersection is old, it's aged. The lights have aged. People talk about making that left turn when the other lanes turn green, that light stays red. That's an old cycling of traffic lights that doesn't exist anymore. And that's what caused the confusion. We approached this back when the pharmacy was coming in for the left-hand turn that Helen talks about, because that box truck or the SUV is sitting there. We had no thoughts. It was not our thinking about bike safety, sidewalks. It was a way of making that intersection safer. However, we found out as soon as you start pulling on a thread, the sweater starts to unravel. There are a lot more things you have to start looking at. And that's when they came up and says, we got to look at what we're going to do about pedestrians. We got to do about bicycles. And unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, I'm not sure, now all of a sudden DCR says we're going to end the bike trail within the scope of what we're looking at. So that makes it even more problematic. I'm a cyclist. People know me. I do a lot of riding. I do long distance riding. I enjoy riding. I would never take my family out on Route 6 to bike ride. There's no interest at all. I've talked to people and things like that. I've talked to people who are opposed to the whole trail and how it ends, that unfortunately they love bicycling. So I get all that. Eastham has a problem with going underground under Route 6. It takes a lot of real estate to make that happen. It takes a lot of things. They try to straighten it out. Eastham hates it. They have a lot of accidents on that part of the bike trail because people come down the hill, go underground. It's a very sharp S or part of the S curve. They come across each other. They probably put stanchions last year in the middle. That was a nightmare when I was biking through it. I'm like, oh my gosh. We don't have the real estate. We have a cemetery. We have if you want to design the worst intersection, unfortunately, Stantec says, really? This is what you're giving us? We gave him a lot of crap in a bag. He had to try and figure it all out and make it all happen. I would love to sit there and see if we can get a waiver with the state so we don't have to deal with the bikes and not plan it for the bike, but we own the crosswalks. They've limited it down. They want a crosswalk on each side. I don't have. So we have a lot. I don't know what to do about the curb cuts. I feel for Mr. Butts and his business, Cumberland Farms, and their business. Because if we're having bicycles on there, walkers, now cars exiting Cumberland Farms have to sit here and queue against the bike and the walkers to queue to try and get onto Route 6. And I just see that I watch people block cars at intersections at medical facilities and the things like that. They block driveways. They're going to block the bike path. I don't know. I wish I can get rid of them altogether, but
So it seems to me that if there is a designated bike lane, I don't want to call it a path or a trail, I want to call it a bike lane, on either side, on both sides, and it's painted and there's grass, and yes, there's going to be someone spaced out visiting for the first time, but if there's something designated, and Mr. Butts can address this, they will say, they will be expecting bikes. They will be expecting walkers. And I don't think there's going to be that many people walking. And I don't think there's going to be that many bikes either, no more than there are now. But do you think that if they see that there is a bike lane painted with the little bike figure in the middle of it and a green strip of some sort, I actually wouldn't mind stanchions or something, little things like that. But then that's going to be a whole nother story. And the other thing is, we're encouraging riding bikes rather than using your car. Look at how many people are driving one person in a car. How many people driving here tonight carpooled? Then did you carpool or were you already together or something? Yeah. So that's something too that we'll let Harriet take care of it, is start encouraging carpooling. But it is greener. There is less fumes coming out, and just the fact that possibly if there's a little more bicyclers coming into town, there will be fewer cars. I don't know. I know this is really complex. All right, what are you guys laughing at? Is that not true?
My parking lot is full of cars carrying bikes in.
Okay, wait. You can't talk out. I can't talk from your seat. I'm asking Chief Polly what he's saying to Mr. Vincent.
That's up to Mr. Vincent and I.
Okay, all right, okay. I was wondering if you were having some encouraging words or some good ideas. No? Okay. Okay, wait, I'm going to let Steve talk. What? Okay,
Yeah.
Helen wants to talk.
Yeah, sorry. I want to address a couple of things that have been said. First of all, to answer your question, and to have something clearer than respectfully we got in our packets. Are you saying that there are going to be 2 crosswalks going across Route 6 at the intersection, or just 1?
2.
There'll be 2.
Why? Because you have, and I lived in New York City for a long time, but let me qualify here. I grew up on Route 6. I'm in the same house. I'm to the north of the intersection. And I really know Route 6, and like everybody else here, I drive through that intersection. But you only need 1 crosswalk there, which would make it simpler for traffic. And then a crosswalk across Main Street. And that is one of the things we saw in the original, very first designs you brought us. And it seemed sensible, okay? So that's one thing. The other thing is to respectfully disagree with my colleague, Mr. Putnam. The other thing I experienced growing up on Route 6, which had 3 lanes, I started driving when I was 14. Chief Bissett, you weren't in, office then, don't worry. It was illegal, but I did it. When it went from 3 lanes to 2 lanes, it got so much safer and it was so much easier to make a left turn in summer going north than it was with 3 lanes. And it will be much safer if it's 1 lane going in each direction in that intersection for the same reason. Because what has to happen now, if I come out of Cahoon Hollow Road or PJ's, any one of those curb cuts, all of which are necessary for that parking lot for a variety of reasons you've already heard, I have to go across what amounts to 3 dangerous lanes, because that's where the cars are passing each other. So give us 2 lanes throughout there. And you haven't pinned down, are you going to get rid of the cement island?
Yes.
And are you going to have a decent, normal, bit of a breakdown lane like there is along most of Route 6 on the west side, that is to say the town the village side of Route 6 going into that intersection from the north, because that was one of the things that was the most dangerous for people that use, people are going to be using bicycles there, whether you give them room or not. They're not going to cross over to this thing you're considering having with the 2 lanes on the other side. They're going to keep going on the west side of Route 6. Are you going to make it wider there for us? Because you said you would a long time ago.
Yes, we will. So the islands are going to be disappearing. The signals are going to be essentially overhead, so they'll be much more visible. They'll have back plates, which are reflective, be a lot more visible during the lower light times of the day. In both directions, you're going to have shoulders. The difference between the 2 lane, so you will have,
Shoulder or breakdown lane?
it's not going to be wide enough to get a full car in there, so we usually call it a shoulder.
Like it is now, but paved?
It's kind of like it is now to the south and to the north, but once we get at the intersection, you got nothing. So it's going to be more similar to what it is north or south of the project. The only difference being that if we did the 2-lane southbound option, we got, I think, a 4-foot shoulder because we're squeezed with that cemetery there. So it's better than it is now. If we have the 1-lane option, we got a little more room to work with. So then we'd have at least a 5-foot in both directions.
So now I'm going to pin down one more thing. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
So lose the 2-lane bike, bike way, let's call it, on the east side. And just have a way in which the people who genuinely use Route 6 on their bicycles to get places, and the serious riders who use it all year, give them room on both sides with, as I said, hey, polka dot it with sharrows. You know, those little icons, the white icons, they're called sharrows. Somebody taught me that. You know, have it be clear, clear, clear that that's for bicycles too. And whatever happens, don't have that 2-lane bike, way separated like that, because people need to cross over there in a number of ways, and at least they'll have the light now. But they'll be able to access the light, crossover and stuff from both sides. Do you see what I'm saying?
I believe so.
Because if I want to go towards Orleans, and I've come from North Wellfleet, and I get to that intersection, a decent light there with a crosswalk means I can wait for the light on the bicycle, and get across it. And also, can you specify about the curb stones? Are you going to make them all 45-degree angles if you're going to have any at all, so they won't be more dangerous for bicycles, like they do in Eastham?
Yeah, so we would have to confirm that with Mass DOT if that's something that they would accept because it's state highway layout.
Well, but the point being, it's safer for bicyclists, and also for people like me who have a hard time stepping up. It's safer for bicyclists if you had no sidewalk rather than a curb cut that goes like that. You know what happens when a bike hits that. Okay, thank you.
So she's referring to the granite curbstones, right? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Oliver?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So the safe thing to do would be to stop the extension from the Counts Hollow at Old County Road. Don't take it to the highway. And then, just like you talked about and Helen is talking about, if you have to have a bike path on that section of Route 6, have one on either side of the road, just like you're talking about. That would be the way to do it. Because the danger is when you have that dual path on one side of the road, bicyclists are traveling in 2 different directions at different speeds. And you have all those curb cuts. And remember, as someone's mentioned before, Cumberland Farms is going to have gas pumps now, so they're going to be really busy. There's no way the human brain can handle that many curb cuts with people on bicycles and walking at different speeds in different directions, and you're trying to negotiate going in and out. That is just an impossibility. So I would agree, if we have to have a bike path and a sidewalk on each side of the road, so you're avoiding that situation, because people are not going to be able to look out for people coming in a direction that they're just not anticipating at all. Thanks very much.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, I'm Harriet Coram, and Of the 3 adults in my family, we have 1 car. And my daughter is an avid cyclist who is a seasonal worker. She commutes by bus a lot. If we're talking about the future, we're talking about safety. I just want to use this opportunity to say that we need to invest more in public transportation. We need to get single driver cars off the road as much as possible with park and ride or with car sharing. Even this town could do well to use groupcarpool.com to make it easy when we have public meetings for people to share the road. A lot of our population is getting older. I lost 2 friends in the past 3 weeks, not here, but one was a 66-year-old man who had a heart attack while driving in his car. Night vision is an issue. That kind of stuff is also an issue. We need to get cars off the road. I don't think the chief should apologize for being an avid bicyclist. I don't think we should say, well, we wish we could get rid of all the bikes. For all kinds of reasons, for the future, we need to make our roads and our transportation safer for walkers. I walk, I don't cycle, but I would walk more if there were places to walk on. The second death was a woman who was a dear friend who was killed by a truck at one of the worst intersections in Boston. 2 days ago, there were more than 100 people standing in the freezing rain. Many dozens of those people were cyclists, including my daughter, who rode there to bear witness to the fact that for our health, the health of our hearts, the health of our environment and the lungs of the planet, we need to do more walking, not driving to health clubs. We need to do more walking, more cycling as long as we can, and we need to protect those people and look towards the future. And if we're investing in the future and we're looking at climate change and what's happening with these roads in all kinds of ways, we also have to think about the ultimate goal of getting more cars off the road. The road should be more walking and bicycling, not automatic cars or whatever. Thank you.
Thank you. So we are now, it's been a while, so just again, try to keep it a little more concise. And if you really have something new to add, you can speak, but if you don't have anything new to add, relax and sit down. Okay, go ahead.
I think this is new. I'm Meryl Mead Fox. I also live on Pine Point Way across the intersection from Cahoon Hollow Road. And I also believe in walking and biking as much as we possibly can and trying to find ways to promote that. My concern is I still don't get from what you're talking about whether there is a way to get out of Cahoon Hollow Road safely. I live right across the street. You know, I live on an extension of Cahoon Hollow Road, basically right across the street from it. And there's no way for me to get home now, really, because I can't take a right safely and then come around the other way. And I can't really take a left safely, and I certainly can't go straight across safely. And then when I try to go up Cahoon Hollow Road from Pine Point Way, the curb cut from PJ's that goes onto Cahoon Hollow Road is so scary because cars are going both ways on Route 6 and they're coming out of that curb cut. So are you making any changes at that intersection at all?
I don't know if I have any graphics that could show that, unfortunately.
Yeah, you
'cause
have
we were
the
kind of focused on the 2-lane
pocket.
versus 1. But you will be making some tweaks to that intersection, and
What can you say? What kind of tweaks?
Yeah, sure, I can jump on that. So,
Please, can we see? Thank you.
sorry.
Okay.
Thank you. So I think that we're restriping this area to try to control what traffic is doing better. We're not really changing the movements, other than providing this left turn pocket for people turning onto Cahoon Hollow Road. We still would have the left turn coming out of Cahoon Hollow Road, or a right turn, depending on where people want to go, or directly across, as would be your case. We're not changing that configuration, or we're not changing those movements. And then for the northbound or Route 6 eastbound direction, we would still have the curb cuts from PJ's open similar to how they are today. So that would not change.
So I just want to register that I find that very scary. And I'm sure people will hate this suggestion, but I think we need a light there.
Yeah, okay.
Just to clarify, we're not changing the curb cut onto Cahoon, well, we weren't planning to change the curb cut onto Cahoon Hollow Road from PJ's. We are, we were not planning on it. Where'd you go? Oh, there we go. The current design did not change the curb cut from PJ's onto Cahoon Hollow Road. But yes, taking a left out of Cahoon Hollow Road, yeah, there's actually quite a few lefts, people coming out of there. There's a lot of volume on Route 6. But yeah, right now we are not planning on doing a traffic signal there. I think we did look at signal warrants, and as far as to see if a signal could be installed, which would be, you would have to meet those, especially if MassDOT was to allow it, and it's been a while, but I don't think that it met the warrants that MassDOT would need for putting up a new traffic signal at that location. One thing to kind of help, if you're coming out of Cahoon Hollow Road, right now you kind of got a sea of pavement. You got a lot to judge what's going on as far as who's coming and are they coming from what lane. It will be simplified. It's still a lot of volume, and it will be tough to find a gap to take a left turn. That's not going to be changed, but hopefully it's a little clearer at least.
Okay. Mr. Butts?
Yeah, my name is Lyle Butts, and I run Bay Sales Marine, just south of where we're talking about here. I did consider riding my bike tonight, but since I haven't ridden it for about 50 years, I figured everyone would be safer if I didn't do that, and the lights were not working. That aside, 52 years on the highway, 4 years across from the drive-in, 48 years where I am now. In and out of that road, I dare say, more than anyone in this room, probably anyone in this town. I'm on the road going to the harbor. I'm on the road going to our south yard again and again and again. I've seen everything on that road. You can't tell me anything that I haven't seen. Bicycles, cars, the way people travel, the speeds they travel. I'm not going to comment on the changes of the intersection itself. But as far as the bike trail is concerned, that's a no-go. It's a cop-out to say that you can't do anything else. I'm sorry. If it's a cop-out if you feel that, hey, it's worth a few people's lives here, because that's what's going to happen. I hope you've got a bunch of ghost bikes piled up somewhere, because you're sure as hell going to need them. There's just no way that that's ever going to work with the amount of curb cuts that are in that area and the traffic going through there. You've got to take it out of there and have them come somewhere else. There's just no way. And I'm going to say this. I spent at least a couple days going back and forth to Provincetown, following every bike trail out to the end, even right down to going on the old railroad bed to see where it ended, where it stopped, what's going on. I'll give you the fact that get through Wellfleet Lights at Main Street, and it's not bad. You can ride on Route 6. Mm-hmm. There's wide enough pavement, there's good sight distances, there's less curb cuts, everything that makes sense that, and it's expeditious for the state. I can understand that. But this half-mile section of Route 6 is deadly. And I've had to be there. I've scooped them off the street. I picked a dead lady up at that intersection while people standing behind me are screaming, "Do something, do something." I said, "She's dead. What do you want me to do?" So I've been there. it's not fun. So this is not a good way to go. Let's find another way around it. And no one's saying they can't ride on Route 6. Let them ride on Route 6. They go by there. I follow people all day long on Route 6 on bicycles. Fine, we're not saying they can't do that, but to encourage people to go on it, if you knew how many times I have followed a family from my business to the marina with an infant in those three-reel ridiculous pink things that drag behind a bike. I follow them down there because someone else is going to hit them. They have no clue as to what's going on. To encourage people to do that, okay, I'm not going any further there. Final point, it's my understanding that the state is going to pay for what's going on out there, whether it be bike trail and whatever, fine. But it's also my understanding that anything that happens in Wellfleet is going to be Wellfleet's problem and their problem to fix. Okay, what's the cost? I know for a fact that very few of our roads are over 20 feet wide. And if you start trying to make, I can't imagine what it's going to be like on Main Street into Wellfleet with a couple of trucks, some vehicles, some bicycles, and people walking. I just don't know. And there's no way you can go. If you want to make takings, yeah, but what are you going to take? People's parking, people's front yards? It's just not going to happen. So, you know, get the bike trail around that section. I know you may not like it. I'm sorry, but it's just not going to work. I can't imagine any scenario where it will. All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. So, okay, good, yeah. Go ahead, Peter.
So I'm Peter Noble, I own Idle Times Bike Shop, and I had a bunch of comments I wanted to make, but he actually just made most of them for me. I mean, he's talking about my customers, and that's, I think, the problem is that that separated bike lane, the two-direction bike lane, is inviting my family, less experienced rental customers out into the highway, which, for all the reasons he just enumerated, is a stupid idea. And yes, you have to make accommodation for cyclists, and I think Helen is exactly right. I mean, you have the ability to build a little more shoulder behind a fog line and put some sharrows through for people who ride road bikes, who are brave, people who are coming and going from work and have to ride on the highway. If you have to make accommodation for them, make a slightly wider shoulder and put some sharrows down, but don't invite less experienced cyclists out into the highway, which is what that design does. And they want to go because they want to get downtown for goods and services. My customers want to go because they want to go to Great Island and walk around. They want to go to the beach, they want to go to the pier, and they want to ride their bicycles to do that because it's a tourism experience. And this is why cycling is not green, because it's tourism. And you are building, in combination with the DCR potentially, a huge tourism draw, which is great for my business, and I love this. This is great for our economy for so many reasons, but you have to do it differently than this, because this is incredibly dangerous for those people. And they're going to drive their cars here with their bicycles on their cars, and they're going to increase automobile traffic when they do that, because they're going to want to use this thing. Again, it's a destination. It's going to draw traffic. Again, good for our businesses. But you don't want them riding there. So we have space. This is like an urban solution. I feel like this is something that comes from Cambridge or Somerville, or comes from a city where you don't have space to solve these types of traffic problems. But we're Wellfleet, and yeah, the seashore has some of our land, and private owners have some of the land, the town has some of the land, and so there's complications on how you use the land, but we have lots of land, and there are probably other ways to distribute this traffic and to move it around without putting it in this stupid place. This is a bad plan, so don't do this plan.
Hi, I'm Barbara Taylor. I live in Wellfleet. It appears to me that many people are very concerned with what you guys have presented tonight. And it also appears to me that several people have made suggestions which could help the situation, including the board and people in the audience, like Peter's suggestion just now off of Helen's suggestion. So, first, is it acceptable as a bike accommodation doing a state road redo to have on-road bike lanes on each side of the road instead of a two-way bike path or side path.
It does meet guidelines. I think if we were to change it, we definitely have to go in front of MassDOT, so I don't want to answer for them because they're not here tonight. I think one of the complications has to do with also when the trail comes, which is a different project, not my project, but when that comes is also if people were going to try to access it, if a two-way facility, they can cross Route 6 at the intersection, which is the best place to cross it. If they have a trailhead there, if you're going in the southbound direction, to not cross Route 6, basically right at that curve in the road. So I think part of it is also, to keep that in mind too, is if people are trying to get to someplace, to
But
not
it
be
is
crossing in a
possible.
bad location.
It is possible not to have the two-way bike path, instead to have on-road bike lanes.
That is, yeah, those meet the guidelines,
That
yes.
combined with the suggestions much earlier by the board that one of the reasons for this whole project starting is bad lighting. We need to change the lights at the Main Street intersection. So if you change the lights at the Main Street intersection, put in the on-road bike lanes instead of the two-way bike path, come back with a better plan that incorporates that, perhaps the reception would be better. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm going to end this. We still have a long meeting to go. All right.
I just want to, Barbara Boone again, I just want to make the point, I agree with everybody, but I take umbrage with the fact that they've just said to us in answering Barbara's question that we're not supposed to consider the DCR plan, but they just admitted that they're considering the DCR plan when they're considering this two-way bike path. And I don't appreciate that because that is duplicitous on somebody's part. I'm not saying it's theirs, but I don't appreciate that because we're being asked not to consider that, and we've given many very good suggestions, I feel like, for safety, and then to say that that is part of their consideration isn't fair to the town of Wellfleet.
Thank you. Really quickly.
So something to put in your beautiful brains in relation to what was just said. Later this evening, this board is going to approve, as we have for many, many years, it's one of those big bike-a-thons. It goes to Whitecrest Beach, estimated 350 riders. Okay? This goes on all the time just fine, using the complex that's Ocean View Drive. Do you know that runs parallel to Route 6 right next to the ocean? And there are 5 different roads that come back to Route 6 at various points, Cahoon Hollow, Lacoon Hollow, blah, 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 Grosse Hill Road, Gull Pond Road, which break up where people get back onto Route 6. And it's been working just fine for years. And for some reason, the DCR didn't compute that when they decided to, I know you have nothing to do with it, but you do. And that's part of where this strange two-lane bike proposition came from in your design, I believe, thinking that that many people would have to be accommodated on Route 6. Not true. Certainly not in that stretch. They just go on Ocean View Drive.
Janet?
Okay, yes.
I'm just going to make some conclusion comments to you that somebody brought up tonight, and I think we brought it up before when you came to us with the roundabout. What we really need here on the Lower Cape is a regional approach to our traffic issues, from the Orleans Rotary all the way down, from the lights, the curb cuts, so on and so forth. But I think what we've heard from the audience tonight is that while I appreciate your presentation and the time that you took, Wellfleet looks to solutions that give us the less is more approach. If you want to come back with a little less complication, give us the traffic lighting that we've asked for and a crossing, so on and so forth. I think you'd, as Barbara Taylor mentioned, would get a better reception. But again, I want to thank you for the presentation.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Yeah, so take everything into consideration, and we'll see you again.
Okay.
Is that good? You can wrap it up, too.
Well, I think I just want to, I guess, maybe recap, but also try to get some direction from the board. So I think from tonight, we've definitely heard to reconsider the path on the ocean side, and we'll look at other options. The two-lane, and this is where it comes into the signal and what are we doing at the signal. The two-lane or one-lane option, if not tonight, I think we're going to need to have feedback on that soon as far as what is
Yeah.
desired.
I believe I think you said, did you come in April or June last year?
June.
I think the planning board was here, a lot of people were here, and we liked the idea of the one lane to stop the speeding up, speed by. So I think that was pretty much okay.
I think they're looking for directions about the 2 lanes or 1 lane, and I think we try to convince them or show them, could we reduce the lane from 2 to 1? And I believe that was the sentiment of the room and people. So I think if we were able to go with concept 1 as far as the lane travel, and then try and work the bike trail maybe on each side or extended shoulders to accommodate bike and walkers, I think is sort of the direction that you guys are looking for.
Yeah, no, that's the main thing I needed
Yeah,
tonight
yeah.
was what direction on that, and we can kind of, like I said, there's a number of other
Okay.
issues that we can try to incorporate.
Yeah.
The direction also about the sidewalks or lack of them. Remember earlier, another visit, we don't need sidewalks in front of Siemens Bank. I mean, please. Anytime there's a nice wide grass verge, that's actually safer to walk on. I've been walking on Route 6 since I could walk. Okay, 71 years.
Do you want to make a motion? Does the select board want to make a motion to direct it to be a single lane each way, to give them that direction? Do you have a consensus that's what you want to do, or what do you?
I have a quick question.
Justine, you've been so
Janet, through
quiet.
you. In the intersection, pedestrians are going to walk by, do they stop the light? Is that what we said? What does that do to traffic flow?
It stops it.
So when they push the light, the traffic's going to stop. I incorporated that into the analysis. But basically, yeah, cars will have to stop when pedestrians go. They're going to have to also wait their turn too, so it can't be pushed more than once. Well, it can be pushed, but it's only going to be activated once per cycle, so they'll
I
get
see.
their turn. If it's pushed, if nobody's there to push it, they won't get it.
Okay, thank you.
So is there a consensus of the board that someone can easily surmise?
I can do that. The other thing I want to be sure, are we all in favor of just having one crosswalk at the light across Route 6, not 2, and then one across Main Street, right? Which is the normal way you do it in cities and stuff. You know, it's normal. You don't need 2 crosswalks.
I guess, so the reason why we had provided 2 crosswalks, if we have somebody coming down from Main Street and they wish to continue north on Route 6, they can cross on this crosswalk. If they want to continue south, we have the crosswalk across Main Street, and they can continue south on this side of Route 6, or they can cross over and continue here.
They can
So I guess
also
we
do
could
that on
keep
the
this
other
one
side.
and leave them here and have them cross here to head south.
Yes.
Eliminate that crosswalk.
Yes, so
What's wrong with 2 crosswalks?
it's more complicated. There are more people crossing in 2 places rather than 1. And you can do it by doing the zigzag just as easily.
But it's a benefit. I mean, I don't see what's
Benefit.
wrong with them
Slows
crossing.
things down, makes it more clear.
I think that it slows things down and it doesn't make it more clear, but never mind. So I'm just asking to
can
put it
think
in
about
motion
it.
or
But
not.
Yeah.
the lights are on a cycle, so it doesn't.
Yeah. Okay, you want 2 crosswalks?
For the
Okay.
pharmacy.
Both.
Yeah, if somebody's
Fine.
infirm or hobbling, I
We're
mean.
fine.
Let me ask Chief or either chiefs, both chiefs, do you have any comment on 2 or 1 crosswalk? Okay.
I'm really going to defer to the experts and things like that. The amount of amount of walking traffic there isn't going to slow it down and things like that. If we had one, we survive at 1 at Grosse Hill Road by the station. We can probably get by with 1 there. I don't see that amount of traffic is gonna slow it down on whichever side. I don't wanna get too down in the weeds with the experts yet, but
So what's the
Okay.
board's, I'm going to make a
Well,
motion. so-
What is the board's?
Yeah, 2 or 1?
consensus? One or
How do you
two
think?
crosswalks?
Two, the way they drew it.
2?
What?
2 or 1?
You can do whatever you want.
Okay, what do you want?
I just,
Kathleen?
David, two?
One's cheaper, isn't it?
Yeah, no, we don't have to pay for
Two,
that.
two, Helen.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
2?
I don't care.
Okay, let's just leave that. Okay, I move that we ask you to use the option of 1 lane in each direction, along with the other ways to accommodate it that you described. That's my motion. In other words, remove the cement. This is not in the motion.
That's already
Remove
in
the
there.
cement, have the, lanes on either side of the road, and, okay.
Helen, can you redo the motion, please?
I move that we ask Stantec to design that intersection with 1 lane going in each direction, including the adjustments necessary for that to happen.
Second?
I have a question.
Is there,
A left-hand turn
Yeah.
coming from Provincetown into.
Yeah.
into the pharmacy?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, okay.
I'm not
How
even
many
putting that in the motion.
crosswalks are we gonna have?
Two.
And how many crosswalks?
Two.
Well, you-
Making the
you went
motion.
for 2.
Okay, 2.
Yeah.
I didn't go,
Then
yeah,
you-
okay.
that's the way
And
they
two,
have it.
2 crosswalks.
I've seconded.
Okay. All in favor of the motion? Okay, thank you. Thank you.
We didn't have to put that in because that's.
We did, yeah.
Thank you both.
I know. I just wasn't
Comment
sure what it
Very
was.
quickly.
Yes, you
Just
may.
quick.
You haven't spoken all night.
Yeah.
Yes.
I would just like to
Thank you
say,
for listening.
speaking of bicycles, it would be nice when we get all these bicycles that are 300 or 400 coming down, would learn that the highway doesn't belong to them, that they need to move over sometimes.
May I just have permission to make one more comment? Brief, very brief. I know you've already voted. I think the Board of Selectmen should not be pushed into making any changes to this till they come back with a better plan
Yeah,
completely.
that's what, this is just the first hearing, Myra. This is just the first, They'll come back. It takes a while. Okay, moving on. Yeah, I know. All right, so if you're speaking, we have to continue with our meeting, so if you're talking, could you please go outside? Out in the hallway anyhow?
Did we thank them?
They're still here. So, you guys, we'll let them pack up. Where are we? Okay.
I don't think they had such a bad reception.
No, this was, I think
didn't
it's good.
swear at them.
Okay, so moving on to common victualers licenses. We have Wellfleet Harbor's Actors Theater up for renewal and Blue Willow Fine Foods. Can I have a motion or any comments from the board, or any comments from the audience?
What is Blue Willow Fine?
That's down by South Wellfleet General Store. They're kind of like a deli sandwich dessert place.
Do you want a motion?
Yes. Yeah, but it's the South Wellfleet General Store. They're at the very end. The bakery, yeah, yeah. Yes, may I have a motion?
I move to approve the renewal of common victualler license for Wellfleet Harbor Actors Theater and Blue Willow Fine Foods.
Is there a second?
Second?
I didn't ask for any comments from the audience. Any comments from the audience on either of those? Okay, may I have a vote? All in favor? Okay, thank you. All right, and now weekly entertainment for Wellfleet Harbor's Actors Theater. Any comments or questions from the board? So Stantec, thank you guys before you sneak out. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for listening. That's the one
Thank you
that's-
for
We'll
your
see you
time and
again.
your presentation.
Janet, I had a question on this vitriol license
Yeah, shouldn't have left. We already voted on it.
for Wellfleet Harbor Actors Theater.
No.
No, we're now on weekly entertainment for Wellfleet Harbor's Actors Theater.
Okay.
So one comment about that? I want to confirm with the town administrator, as has been mentioned before, that every time somebody wants a weekly entertainment license, they be given a copy of our bylaw.
Wait, could you speak a little more into your, I couldn't hear you.
Yeah, I apologize. I was trying to look at the town administrator politely, and I can't do that.
Yes, they are given a copy of the town bylaw.
Thank you. Forgive me for confirming that.
So before Stan Tech leaves, I know you're not in charge of this, but I really like the idea to lower the speed limit, especially when you get, how far, by like the post office, before the post office, to, what street should we say? Are you in charge of that? You're not in charge, you would request it?
Yeah, so, I don't have a microphone, but
That's okay.
as far as changing the speed limit,
Yeah, you could use that one.
I'm glad to speak about something that is not my job, so I can say whatever I want.
Way nicer, yeah.
So when you want to lower the speed limit, especially on a state highway, you have to follow rules. And with the speed limits are set to usually what the 85th percentile speed is. So it's how fast the 85% of the traffic is going, that or less. I guess the theory being that 15% of the people might be scofflaws, but most of the people are reasonable.
Yeah.
So if you're having a problem with a lot of people speeding, usually lowering the speed limit, not only can you not do it, it sometimes doesn't really help.
Right.
Heavy
Yeah,
enforcement can help,
especially here.
or changing the character of the road, like say maybe going from 2 lanes to 1 lane.
Yeah.
So I think that might be something that, especially for my project, after it's done, hopefully people are going a lot more reasonable, not necessarily slower, but especially after after things have changed, that can be something that is very appropriate and easier to enact, I guess, as well.
Yeah. I would guess that we have a summer speed limit and a winter speed limit anyhow, so,
Well, the summer speed limit's probably about 10, right?
yeah, 15, 20.
So Janet, in fact,
But we do ask the DOT, right?
Yes,
We
that would be
request with the
Department of
DOT.
Transportation.
however, it can be confusing to people, and in my experience, again, 3 lanes to 2 lanes in front of my house on Route 6, people did slow down. And then, remember, in that area, people slow down anyway because they're scared for their lives.
Good.
Yeah.
That'll help. Okay. And we all should be scared for our lives when we're in a car, way more dangerous than bicycles and other things, so.
Thank
Be
you.
careful out there, right? That's the takeaway. All right, thank you. Let's keep moving on. I'm getting punchy.
Yeah, we're like a bunch of newscasters.
What do we have here? We have appointments and reappointments. And we have the bike and walkway.
I'm sorry, we didn't vote on the weekly entertainment.
Oh,
for
sorry.
Oh, we didn't
Wellfleet
raise our
Harbors.
hand. Okay, so all in favor of the
No, we
week?
need a motion.
Yeah, we
I
didn't
move
even
to-
have a motion?
No.
Okay.
I move to approve the renewal of the weekly entertainment license for Wellfleet Harbor Actors Theater.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Thank you. Okay, so now we have bikeway and walkway committee appointments. Is Christy O'Campbell here? Okay. Would you like to come up and tell us why you want to be on the bike and walkway committee?
Hi, everybody.
And speak into the microphone, please.
Hello, does that work?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I really want to be on the committee because I like being involved in the town. I know there are openings, and it feels like a time where this needs to be an active committee, and I know there are positions that need to be filled for it to be active. I'm a neutral person. I'm not an abutter. I really like researching and listening to people, so I feel excited to give this a try.
Okay. Any comments or questions from the board? Yes, Kathleen?
Will you be good as your dad?
What?
You be as good as your dad?
Oh,
I hope so.
yeah. I'd rather just go in on my own reputation.
I think you're pretty good, Christy, so
Thank you.
I'm a fan.
Great, thank
And
you.
thank you for helping.
This will be your start.
Yes, yes.
For you. Thank you for giving, and we've got another appointment for this committee after this. Thank you for getting this really important committee a quorum.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you need a charge. I've spoken to our previous appointee, and there needs to be a charge for it.
Isn't there one already?
No. Nobody could find it. It's not on the town website, so
Helen,
do
there
something.
is a charge.
What?
Suzanne, would you please come to the microphone?
not on
You
the
can
town
stay. You can
website.
stay there. No, she can go to that one.
Suzanne Thomas, Director of Community Services. One of my hats was liaison from the Regional Bike Path Committee to the Town Bike Committee, and there is a charge. I may have it. I can resurrect it for your consideration. It probably needs updating.
Yeah.
Would you be so kind, if you find it, to send an electronic version to the person who can put things on the website? Please.
I will send it to
Send it-
Courtney,
yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, because when we're recruiting people for boards and committees, the first thing I at least do is say, go to the town's website and go to that board or committee's page and look at what it is you're supposed to do, because there are still people who get on the planning board and think they're going to get to plan.
Huh. No, I will
Yeah.
send myself a email right now, so I remember to look for it tomorrow.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so.
Motion.
Yes,
I
Kathleen?
move to appoint Christy O'Campbell to the Bike and Walkway Committee for a term to expire on June 30th, 2022.
Second.
And all in favor? Okay,
Yay.
thank you.
Thank you for serving.
And now moving on to the appointment of Lisa Palladino to the Bike and Walkway Committee. Hi.
Hi.
So would you like to introduce yourself and say, maybe tell the audience why you would like to be on the Bike and Walkway Committee? And
My na-
speak into the microphone nice and pull it towards you.
Can you
Yeah.
hear this?
Pull it, yeah.
My name is Lisa Palladino, and I'd like to be on this committee because the opportunity arose, and I am new-ish to living full-time in Wellfleet. My father was very involved in the community, and I feel like this is one way that I can kind of give back to the town.
Yeah. Are you living here now?
Yeah.
I am.
Yeah, great.
I live in my dad's house.
Yeah, nice. He was a wonderful man.
He was. I will not be
He
as
still
good
is
as
a
my
wonderful
dad.
Okay, any questions or comments from the board? Kathleen?
Will you be as good as your dad?
I won't.
Said she won't
I'm-
be. She
I
will.
know, I
She
won't.
will be.
No one is good as my dad.
I love your dad.
We all channel your dad sometimes.
You know what? I'm really into you wanting to serve on this, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
So may I have a motion?
I move to appoint Lisa Palladino to the Bike and Walkways Committee for a term to expire on June 30th, 2022.
Second.
All in favor? Okay, thank
Yay.
you. Unanimous, Courtney, if you didn't see that. And now I have a nice easy one, or I think it's easy, an appointment of Dennis Murphy, who could not be here, to the Dredging Task Force. Any questions or comments from the board?
Comment, thank goodness.
Any from the audience? Okay, may I have a motion?
I move to appoint Dennis Murphy to the Dredging Task Force for a term of 3 years.
Second? You know, I can second things. It's a lot quicker when we do easy things. But anyhow, is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? All right, thank you. And now we have the appointment of Charles Annette to the Dredging Task Force.
Good evening to members of the board. I'd like to be called by Skip Annette. That's
Skip,
my
okay,
nickname.
it's it's on your application, but it's not on our motion.
It's on my signs when I was running for school committee last year.
That's where I know you from. I kept looking at you, wondering where I knew you from and your name.
Justine and I used to go together.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm very interested in this dredging project. I've been keeping track of it for a number of years. But I've had a boat in Wellfleet since 1975 when I first bought a cottage here, and now I live as a full-time resident. And I still have a boat that was next to Dennis O'Connell. So the issue is, you've got to get the town is behind it. I don't have any doubts about that, and so is the Board of Selectmen. But the issue is, we got to get the broader part of this whole project put together as a plan as to what we're going to do, not only once we get the federal channel piece, the inner part of the harbor area, the outer part of the harbor area where the larger boats are, get that resolved, but we have to develop a continuous maintenance program, because that was a demand of the state, that if you were going to get money, you got to show that you're in a regular go-forward, continually fixing the project, as water and the mayonnaise, they just don't work together, so they fall down, and you got to dig it out and take it out to the bay.
So presently, the dredging committee has requested to keep it small, and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, probably 6 people. Let me just think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 people, probably 7 people. So do you have any actual dredging experience or planning experience that would help? Because this is a working committee.
It's not on his
Okay, I don't have any specific dredging experience, but I've had project planning experience for 50 years in the various jobs I had in the manufacturing industry, with small companies and very large companies like General Electric, ITT. So I have project experience. I've had how you have to develop what you're going to do first, and then start working through the increments of it, building a timeline so that at least you have a goal in mind when you're going to be done. I've worked with anywhere from thousands of dollars to tens of millions of dollars, building large 300,000 square foot manufacturing facilities, which have a lot of pieces to them, that there's all kinds of issues that can happen, and that you can't get things done on time, that you have to be able to negotiate, that you have to work with different elements of the government. They can be local, state, county, federal government. There's committees, and there's a lot of posturing that you have to do. But
Okay.
I feel comfortable that that's something that's an expertise that I can bring to the town.
Janet?
Yes, Helen?
So, Skip, I've been trying to get you on a border committee since we first met.
That's correct.
Yeah, and my memory is you were in the state you lived in previously, Connecticut?
Correct.
You were on the ZBA or the planning board?
I was on the zoning board of appeals for
Yeah.
42 years,
Yeah.
continuously elected official.
This is useful here. So you should know, as Janet said, well, it's a working committee, we're all supposed to be working, but there's a lot of material for you to look at right off the bat to get yourself up to speed.
That's definitely the first thing I'm going to do.
Yeah.
I know I'm
And-
going to contact with like Mike Flanagan, and there's other people that have been in.
No,
Well,
and-
but I mean,
And we
been
had, sorry to
involved.
interrupt, we had an engineer, this was sometime since 2015, come in and give us a sense of what the maintenance dredging might look like. So there's that, you can get that out of the minutes archives, and also there were documents with it. There was homework that came with it. You can find out what the firm was and get them to send it to you. But it wasn't, actual nitty-gritty plans, but it had a lot of specifics, and there was a lot to know.
Okay, so,
So
doesn't
if-
need to be talked about now.
Yeah, but I'm suggesting that if you get on it,
Thank
that
you.
there is homework to access,
Right.
right? And there's
Lot
a
of homework to
charge.
access,
And how many
yeah.
people are we supposed to have on this committee in the charge?
We set it up for 5 people.
Yeah,
So-
so presently, there's more than 5, but what I would like to do,
Oh.
I'm kind of the liaison, but you are good. We are supposed to have a meeting soon. I'm looking at Dan if he has a calendar, and to start coming to meetings, because we're not sure if everybody is around, but to start coming to meetings. And I would postpone appointing you just because there's enough people on it, but it sounds like you'd be a really good asset.
so you're saying that I'm not
What?
ready to be nominated for this committee?
Wait.
Yes, I'd like you to come to the meeting. Yeah, we put a limit on it.
Make him an alternate.
No, we don't have that in the charge.
Alternates,
Are there
yeah.
alternates in the charge, Dan?
No.
I don't think
We
so.
can change the charge at the next meeting. Please, just go to the meeting.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be
Yeah.
a non-voting member.
We can change
There's,
it to
there's
7.
nothing to really vote on even at this time, because it is all planning, and it is all work in that way. So I will let you know when the meeting is. And again, sometimes when we have people being appointed, somebody from the committee comes and recommends or approves or encourages us to have it, and nobody's here from the task force. So I'd just like to wait. There's not going to be a meeting until probably the second week of March at the earliest anyhow, so.
And Janet, at our next meeting, we can change the charge and the
Okay, well,
membership to 7.
it's also up to, I get it, he sounds really great, he sounds like he'd be really good, but it's also the task force choice to.
No, it's
No?
our
Okay.
choice. It's our choice.
All right, well, okay.
So now, do I understand that you already have 5 people
Yes.
chosen for this, but they're not listed on the town website? Only
It's a
one
little
was.
slow. We have the,
I don't think there's been 5 people.
We have 2 appointees right now.
We
We
have-
have Chris, who you appointed, and Dennis, who you just appointed. So
and
there-
Alfred Picard,
What do we have?
who hasn't gotten his application in, but kind of started the whole thing. And then we have the assistant and the harbor master, and what?
Janet, they are not members. They are staff support.
Yeah,
They're not members.
okay.
So we have Mr. Christopher Algair, we have Dennis.
Okay, yeah, all right.
And who else do we have? That's it, so you're fine.
Okay,
Janet,
Okay.
That took a while.
Well,
yes.
life takes a while.
Yeah.
Jerry, what are you
Yeah,
going to say?
have you been down, hello? Yeah, it'd be nice if you looked at me anyway, instead of looking over there.
I'm used to looking at your wife, so that's,
Yeah. Well, that's a compliment, I guess.
yep, she's a great lady.
Have you been down to see Mike Flanagan lately?
Yes,
Because, we just had engineers down there a week or so ago. And did you speak
there
with
weren't
him?
any engineers the time I met with him, no.
Pardon?
There weren't any engineers there the time I met with him.
Well, when I
I've
spoke
been
to
there
Mike,
twice when he's been at lunch.
when I spoke to Mike the other day, he told me he had some engineers down there. So it may be a different thing, I
I
don't
would
know.
think, yeah,
But
that might be
that's
for the
his
fuel tanks.
comment to me. I asked him about it. He said he had some engineers. I just spoke to the town administrator, and I think he confirmed that, that there were engineers down there. So I'd suggest you go back down and talk to him.
Will do.
Okay.
He knows me well.
Yeah. All right, so I'll let you know when the next meeting is. I guess there's a discrepancy. I mean, again, it was requested that they keep things small so that they can progress and work well together, and getting a committee bigger can be cumbersome. That's why it's being kept small. But I will let you know when the next meeting is, and I would feel more comfortable having someone from the committee say, yes, we want more people when we get more organized. Is that
So
okay with
my
you?
understanding was
I would- we would-
that there was
I
going
would
to be
like-
5 people.
No.
No?
I'm sorry, Janet. Wait,
What?
we just listed the 3 people who have been
I'm
appointed.
trying to think quickly if that's all there are.
Yeah, because the staff
3,
support is not on the committee.
Right.
And
Okay,
you are
here
the
we go
liaison.
again. Here we
Sorry.
go again.
And you were the
All right.
liaison.
Mm-hmm.
So there are 3 appointees now, and there are 5 people who can be on it. So with your appointment, we have a quorum, right? And we have staff support, and we have the liaison, who is you.
This out a little later.
And you can't be on
Okay,
it, so,
okay.
yeah.
Okay, so can I have a motion, please?
I move that we appoint Charles Annette to the dredging task force.
Second?
Okay, all in favor? Okay, clarified.
Thank you.
So you'll be notified when the next meeting is. Are you around, and you going on vacation or anything, or,
No, I'm not a snowbird.
I know.
Yeah.
And
I'm around
you're free any
365 days.
any particular time or days you're around, you're available for a
My
meeting?
time is like when I go up to the school, because I have two grandkids that play
That's
soccer,
okay.
baseball,
Okay.
basketball.
Okay, great. Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and now we have an appointment of William Warren to the Planning Board.
We're
No.
postponing that one?
Yes.
We're
Postponing that one.
postponing it, okay.
He wanted to go to
It's
some
okay.
meetings.
No reason is necessary. That's that. Okay, use of town property, Long Pond for Wellfleet Sprint Triathlon, WOMR. Anybody here to talk about it? Although I do believe that this is the number of years, many years they've been doing this, and it's fine.
This is a, I'm sorry.
No, you meant, yeah.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah, can I have a motion or a non-motion if you guys don't like it?
We have conditions.
Yeah, everything's been met, Helen.
Yeah, I'm looking.
And
yeah.
this is a repeat. They've done it for several years now. I can make the motion.
Okay,
I move to approve the use of Long Pond by WOMR on June 1st, 2019, subject to the conditions, if any, as listed on the application form, for a fee of $500.
Second.
any questions or take a vote? Any questions or comments from the audience? Okay, all in favor? Okay, great. And now we'll move on to the use of Whitecrest parking lot and the bathrooms by the American Lung Association on September 29th. Anyone here to speak to that? Okay. Any questions or comments? This is for the, this is what, I knew there was a name to it, the annual Autumn Escape Bike Trek. I knew they had a name. Comments, questions from the board, from the audience? May I have a motion?
I move to approve the use of Whitecrest parking lot and bathrooms by the American Lung Association on September 29th, subject to conditions, if any, as listed on the application form,
You can
for a
stop,
fee of $50.
you can stop right there. The $50 was their application fee. They are not charging any fee, and because they're a nonprofit and not charging a fee, we generally don't charge them a fee. So.
Okay.
Okay. So, do you want me to reread that, or
Yeah,
we'll just
please.
take it out?
Just where you said listed on the application form, if it stops right there, that would be fine.
Yeah, we just stop it there.
Okay, is there a second?
Second?
All in favor? Okay. And now use of town property for the, doesn't say it on the motion, but it's
Wellfleet
the Wellfleet Gardeners for May 25th. Any questions or concerns from the board, from the audience? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
I move to approve the Wellfleet Gardeners' use of the driveway adjacent to Town Hall on May 25th, subject to the conditions, if any, as listed on the application form.
Second?
Second.
All in favor? Okay, thank you. All right, spring tax bill.
Sorry, Jerry.
So there's a request by both the beach administrator and the parking task force. And who's the third one, Suzanne? Who's,
It was going to be the shellfish department at one point, and what we've done now so that it will fit in the tax bill
good,
is
okay.
the survey from the parking task force is a full-page, two-sided that will fit in it, and what Suzanne is proposing for the beach department is a one-third page that will fit in it. We can do all of that without any increase in postage.
yeah, good. And I do think the parking task force can be edited to be, not as much space and stuff, that if you need more room. Did you see this one?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. That we could shrink it down a little bit.
Well, it'll be two sides of one piece of paper, and it's
Yes.
directed towards the taxpayers, and we really want to make sure we get the taxpayers' input on this
Oh,
survey.
yeah. Yep.
So, Madam Chair, I have a-
So wait, so let me clarify. I'm sorry, Suzanne, because you're all set. You're all set.
You don't want to vote to approve this?
Yeah, we're going to, but
Okay.
no discussion, but I want to make sure. So parking task force is going to have a whole page, double-sided,
Correct.
and then you're going to have a third, like that size, and that's enough weight, the weight, okay, that's what I wanted to clarify.
And
Okay,
no shellfish?
No.
and no shellfish.
Gonna do one this year.
Okay, so Suzanne, would you like to explain yours, please? Or show the audience?
Well, the reason that I requested permission to do a stuffer in the tax bill is that this is, for the first time, Wellfleet residents and taxpayers will be able to order their beach stickers on the website using a credit card, and we'll be mailing them to them. This will replace the sticker by mail, print out the form, fill it out,
That's
make
great.
17 copies, mail it to us with a self-addressed envelope. It should streamline things for people. The habit or the practice of writing checks is dwindling rapidly. We're not allowed to get credit card information through the stickers by mail. So, for security reasons. And so this will answer all the requests we've got. They can pay for by credit card, they can get them mailed to them, and it should, maybe not the first year, but after 2, maybe 3 years, it will shorten the lines of residents who have to stand in line, because they can
Yeah.
just do it.
No, I think this is great in bringing us into the
20th century.
future, 20th century, I was going to say. Now, so let's say when my daughter comes down and gets a week or 2 long week
She'll have to
sticker,
stand in line.
do you foresee where someone that can take a picture of their registration from, that isn't a resident, do you foresee that being suitable for this in a year or 2?
I would say of the visitors who stand in line, about 50% of them would be able to do that successfully with
Okay.
the paperwork that they bring with them the first time.
Yeah.
The other 50% will be sent away to get different paperwork. So maybe down the road, but I would like to get all the
Oh, yeah.
glitches out, serving the residents and the taxpayers first.
No, that'll be a great time saver for staff, too. right?
Yes.
Okay, yes, Kathleen?
Madam Chair, through you to Mr. Hort, does this, do these inserts increase our cost?
The postage cost will stay the same. We've
Okay.
got it enough so that the postage cost won't change on this.
Thank you very much, sir.
Okay.
So,
So do I have a motion to approve the,
I have one question.
okay.
So can I do this like tomorrow?
No, because we don't have the credit card link set up yet.
How do we know when?
Well, you'll see a great big red alert banner on the website, so stay tuned. I am also going to announce it at town meeting,
Yeah.
so that'll help
Yeah.
people.
Thank you.
Good. All right, may I have a motion?
I move to approve the spring tax bill insert for an online beach sticker renewals.
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, just one note, each department doing the insert pays for their own printing costs, so it's not an additional cost through the tax.
Great. Okay, and now the parking task force insert, do you want to come up and comment on that? And
No, I say one thing, it is fantastic, this, I like it,
yeah, yeah.
the survey.
Oh, the parking
Yeah,
task force
who put
survey.
it
Oh,
together?
good.
Did you?
These 2 wonderful gentlemen coming up with a lot of inserted help.
We're still working on the absolute final, but you've got the drift of what we're trying to do.
Ooh.
And the intention here is to put this in the tax envelope so that we get the taxpayers, both resident and non-resident, their input. We will have other ways for people to answer. We will have a second survey for beach permit holders that we've been working with Suzanne. We've been working with Suzanne on this also, so.
And I'm sure Suzanne knows this, but Mr. Hort, when is the due date for these tax inserts to be printed and ready? When do they need to be done? About?
I've got it in my notes at home.
Okay, you do?
Yes.
I do, all right.
It's like mid-March. If we have
That's
them
what
in
I-
time
yeah,
for it, then we're
something like
fine,
that.
so. Yeah, the bills actually get mailed on April, or go out late March, so.
Late March, okay.
One question?
Mm-hmm.
2 additions possible. You could, since there's more room on the second page, you could add, what hours do you go to the beach? Because that's a big deal.
We had that question there at one time, and we'll consider it again.
Yeah, And the other is, Suzanne explained why it wouldn't work, but it would be very interesting, since this is a survey, to say, would you be willing to carry in and carry out your trash? Because just a question on a survey isn't the same as trying to implement it. And Suzanne was very articulate and convincing when she talked about how it wouldn't work. But if you put it on the survey, it might like be a gentle hint, you know?
We will address that at our meeting next week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, may I have a motion?
I move to approve the spring tax bill insert for the parking task force survey.
Second?
All in favor? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
If you keep it to the right size and check with Mr. Hort.
Justine.
You could do single space, all that stuff. I know. Well, if you have the whole paper, it doesn't matter. I was concerned that there was also a shellfish insert, so, yeah.
We have to be certain when it's printed, whoever prints it, we met with Kat today, who's helping us out with the surveys in the past. So you have to use a print that doesn't bleed through. So it has to be fairly good quality paper.
Okay.
And a thin paper. And do we have, well, whatever, recommendations for the town printer or the company we use? Okay, yes, Kathleen?
Madam Chair, may I request that we take business D before we do business C, so Chief Polly can get home and get up for work
Oh,
tomorrow
yeah.
morning?
Sure.
Oh, Chief, you can,
No, that's fine. We're here
Thank you.
till the end.
We like having you here, but
Good evening. So if the board recalls at the budget presentation, the fire department budget presentation in December, I continued to articulate the need for additional personnel. There was some discussion about safer grants, and I didn't have the information that I do have now that just came out within the last week and a half or so. I have asked for 2 more full-time positions. I'm in discussion with the town administrator, perhaps with a way to I don't want to say soften it, but maybe try to attack this from a couple different angles, so that it might be more palatable, if you will.
to the voters?
To the taxpayers.
Yeah, no, this looks great.
I know there's been a resistance in the past because, we're looking at startup grant money for 2 positions. This is a very, very competitive grant. Quite frankly, I'd be very surprised if we got it, but I have been successful in getting this grant in the past for 2 positions in the town of West Boylston. So basically, what I'm asking is for the board's permission to apply for this 3-year grant, which would cover the cost of 2 new positions, firefighter, paramedics, or EMTs, firefighter EMTs, with a cost share of the first year the federal government pays 75%, the second year they pay 75%, the third year they pay 35%, and then the 4th year it all comes to the town. If you allow me to apply for this grant, I will need a letter either from the chairman of the chair of the select board or the town administrator saying that you're allowing the grant to be applied for. There's no, you're not on the hook to accept it, but what has happened in the past is fire chiefs around the country have applied for grants of this type, and the elected or appointed officials have been a little bit out of the loop. So all this says is that you folks are allowing me to do this.
Certainly, and I think between Mr. Horton and Courtney, they can get that written. Just call me if I'm the only one who has to sign it, or we can all come in this week and sign it.
Sure.
Okay?
So I have till the end of March to put this together, and it's going to take a good week and a half to do this in terms of physical hours. It's
Yeah.
quite a process.
It is. No, good. It is a process, and thank you for applying for grants. It's not easy, and thank you for doing it.
Well, I appreciate your support.
Good job. May I have a motion, or are there any other questions or anything? Okay, can I have a motion?
I move to approve Chief Polly's applying for the SAFER grant.
Second.
All in favor? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right,
This
so,
is C.
yeah. Moving to approve, we have already negotiated the contract with our town administrator, and now it's moving to approve it as written. Are there any questions, concerns, amendments? Looks pretty much like what we said, right?
Yeah.
Looks exactly like what we said. All right, may I have a motion to approve the contract?
I move to approve the town administrator's contract as written for a term of 3 years.
Second.
All in favor?
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for
Thank you.
wanting to re-up.
Yeah, thank you for renewing your too.
All right. So, approving Eversource petition for a conduit on Old Chequesset Neck Road. And this is for it looks like to me a new house being established.
That is my understanding.
Yeah. Any questions or concerns or disgruntlements or anything from the board? Any from the audience? We're getting down there. Hey? May I have a motion? Has everybody looked at this? Okay.
I don't really understand. If there was a problem, I'm not sure that I would
No,
understand.
it looks to
what
me
it
like
is.
there is a new, because they have two separate addresses here, two separate owners,
Yeah.
and this one's coming in under a new address and a new owner. So can I have a motion?
I move to allow Eversource Energy to install a conduit on Old Chequesset Neck Road.
Second.
All in favor? Raise your hand. Thank you. All right, Town Administrator's Report. Any comments, questions?
Was there anything in the February 22nd meeting with the 6 Outer Cape Town Administrators, in your meeting with the state, that you might want to highlight? Was it that about sharks? What was it about?
You know what, I sent you an email today to kind
Yeah.
of give you a little bit of an
Oh.
update. But
Yeah.
we've got a meeting this week, tomorrow actually, in Boston to request funding from the state, tying back to right after the shark fatality when Lieutenant Governor Polito's office called and asked if there was, what they could do to help. And so Senator Sear and Representative Peake have been working with Lieutenant Governor Polito's office. And so the 6 Outer Cape town managers and administrators are going to Boston tomorrow to meet with them and discuss it, along with the Seashore Superintendent, Brian
Thank you.
Carlstrom.
Good.
Anyone else? Just for the at-home audience, the State of the Town meeting at the Wellfleet Community Forum a week ago, this Thursday, Mr. Hort did a really good presentation, very clear, very concise. It was very good. Anything else on the administrators? Okay. Moving on to, do we have correspondence or future discussion?
Okay. I have a couple of things. So,
Well,
future concerns.
Future discussions.
right, so we all got an email from the APCC with a model bylaw so that we can line up for some 208 money. And the email explains it, but the point is, I think we really do need to have it on the warrant so that it doesn't just go into the general fund, so it's dedicated. And part of the reason for that is in terms of getting our 208 plan accepted, you see, it's a way of showing that we're committed to dealing with point and non-point pollution going into the watershed. In other words, doing what the 208 plan requires. There are other things you can use it for, this money coming from the room tax, but let's have it as an agenda item so we've all read it
Yeah.
carefully and we talk about what kind of warrant article we want to tweak it to be. The model warrant article is very
Right.
good.
And
Dan, you know,
And I think we should put that on our next agenda,
yeah.
not the one on Monday.
Well, we could put it on Monday as a discussion item after you've done the recommendations.
You don't think the meeting will go too long? This is a discussion of all the,
Yeah.
is it with all the warrant articles?
Yes,
Articles?
Monday is just to discuss the warrant, Monday, the 4th
So you
of
think we'll
March.
have time?
You know what, we could put it on the one on the 12th.
Yeah, let's put it on the
Fine.
one on the 12th. And I would request everyone think about, so you guys are all aware of the rental tax and that the 2.75% will go towards water. I'll put it very broadly, and that 2.75, along with the rest of the tax too, but the 2.75 is designated for water quality. It can also be used for dredging. It could be used for town water. I believe it can be used for hires also. So I would like Mr. Hort to look at the money and the needs and kind of come up with some suggestions.
I'll prepare a recommendation sheet for
Like
you.
what
So-
really is needed, where we can, what do you call it, fund money, if it's fund money or
No,
not?
no,
What do you call
it's-
it?
Free cash.
Free
no.
cash,
So,
no, not free
yeah.
cash.
I want
Yes.
something.
Wait, Kathleen had her hand up.
There was an article in the Cape Cod Times today, I don't know if anybody has read it, with regard to a bylaw that's proposing that towns look at this bylaw with regard to what to do to the money, and they're looking at it in 3 sections, not just wastewater, but infrastructure, and I can't remember
They
the,
had housing. They
housing.
had broadband.
Yes, broadband.
I think
And
there's
I
a fifth
thought,
thing, too.
I thought the model bylaw that's proposed by this coalition, that's the APCC, Wendy Norcross from the Cape Cod Chamber, and the HAC people, is a way that we should, I thought we should look at
Copy
too.
it, yeah. No, they did a great job in the bylaw, and we'll talk about it, and we'll talk about how Wellfleet will prioritize what they want to designate it for.
So since we're,
And as a stabilization fund for the people out there listening, that,
well,
So-
that's the
we'll
question.
discuss it, we'll discuss it at the
But
meeting.
I would like to see, through you to Dan, it would be good to see what the warrant article would look like, because we are or are not going to have some people from the FinCom, right? Or is it just going to be us?
Janet Lowenstein, the chair of the FinCom, said she would be coming to our meeting
Good.
on the warrant,
Good.
right? I don't know if anybody else will join.
They're going to talk about, they have it on the agenda to discuss it again tomorrow night at their meeting, so.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And
Yeah,
then
we could just, yeah.
you know, just to see what it looked like anyway, and we will have all read it and been up to speed. So, thank you. It is a coalition. It wasn't just from the APCC.
Right.
So I had one other future thing, and I brought it up before, and then apparently nobody knew what it was. So through you to the TA, remember, and I did this in response to, let's just leave it at my saying, some people who work in the area of the town hall parking lot, and also I know something about this. I asked to have, let's have a baseline reading before they hook up the transformer there. And there are reasons for that. For example, when they put in.
Yeah, we've discussed it.
Yes.
We already have it on a future
Yeah.
concern.
Yeah, and
so.
now you know, you get somebody outside to come in and do it, and there are a lot of places that do it. It's perfectly easy. You know, it's just, I don't know how much it is.
I already have it on a concern.
Thank you. Before they hook it up, thank you.
So other future concerns, did anybody read the local comprehensive plan little booklet that was put in our packet? Is that from Brian, or
Yes, it
that was what he had done?
Yeah.
So 2 things about that. One is, their first needs assessment was a community a recreation community, whatever, center. So that changes a few things if that's their priority. So I still want to make sure that that's how it was all prioritized in that. And the next, we've talked about having a consultant, and Cape Cod Commission could do the consulting, I think, very efficiently and,
For free.
and yes, and inexpensively. So that was my two things about future agenda.
Janet, I have a question for the town administrator. So what we got was this kind of just bare outline, but has the larger document not been found?
I have not found it yet. I have to respond back to Brian and say, because he said it was on the server, and when
Yeah.
I've been looking for it, I have not been able to find it, so.
So that's what we really need to look at before we know.
I agree.
Okay,
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Okay,
No, we just have the tiny,
Thing.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, okay, I didn't know he didn't have, okay. Any other future concerns, future agenda items? All right, correspondence and vacancy report?
Could we have this brought up to date? In other words, when we get something like the dredging task force added, could it be put on this list so that we don't have
Yeah, up to date
confusion?
is good,
You know,
good, clear.
Have it up to date so that when we get it in our packet, I can look at it, because I thought, where's the bike, where's the dredging task force? It's not on here, kind of thing.
No, it's not.
And I wanted to check how many people were on it, and I couldn't, so. I know, we can get away.
Well,
from-
guess who their secretary is?
Who?
And why it's lagging
you.
behind, yeah.
Oh.
So we have to we have to get a secretary. There's a lot of work to do, and that's why.
This is a change on the website, though. That's what I'm talking
Yeah.
about. So that this list is up
Yes.
to date, yeah.
Yep. Okay. Any
Minutes.
other comments? Minutes?
So we have two sets of minutes, because remember, they weren't posted?
Right.
Okay. So we have January 29th. Okay. So on the first page, under announcements, open session, public comment. Yeah, okay. Second bullet, add at the end of the first line, executive session earlier in the day prior to negotiating the terms of a renewal contract for TA Hort, which is kind of significant that it was
Okay.
before that.
So where are you?
Here, right here.
Okay, early in the, okay, I got it.
So, second page. My eyes are getting worse and worse. Second line down, CPC funds come from a percentage of local real estate taxes. And further down, at the end of that long, long paragraph, the last sentence, the Recreation Department, I'm trying to make it sound interesting. The Recreation Department is requesting $54,000 for a permanent pavilion tent to replace the tent which is rented annually at Bakersfield. Didn't read, okay, there's that. Nothing, sixth page. Under Eversource Energy, there are 3 lines in italics, and then there's a paragraph. And at the end of, this is what I just brought up again, at the end of that paragraph, Wilson said that it would be very good to get the baseline reading for low-frequency magnetic radiation before the transformer is hooked up. Hort said it would be done. Add that. And that is everything until the last page, page 9. And at the top of the page, Reinhardt asked that the appropriate, right here, page 9, top of the page, this is the 29th, right?
Oh, there, okay.
Yeah. Reinhardt asked that the appropriate apartment heads initial the licenses to ensure the applicants are meeting all requirements, not the principal clerk.
No, I did ask about the principal
did?
clerk. Yes, I did.
I didn't check that.
Yeah.
So thank you. But
So
now
my question is that often
Good, thank you.
Jean Mack, our principal clerk, will just put in the form about who's applying for this, and especially if they're repeat repeat. And I want some kind of symbol mark saying that she has actually seen this, and Courtney just hasn't put it in there. You know, I want somebody saying, yes, I've approved this, like a big red check mark, anything that I know that Jean has actually seen it and
Okay.
and approved it.
I didn't go and look at the video for that. It was the end of the thing, and I didn't.
Yes.
Yeah, sorry. I slobbed out. I don't usually
That's
do that.
okay. We all make mistakes
Yeah, yeah.
once a year.
And here you are, you corrected it. Once a year.
Keep going.
Tuesday, I move that we approve the minutes of Tuesday, January 29th, 2019, as amended.
Second.
All in favor?
Yay.
Did we vote on the other ones?
No.
We didn't vote on
Now we're going to
these.
go to,
No, we didn't vote on the January 29th one.
February 12th.
wait.
February
Oh,
12th.
shit, excuse me. Guess what?
No, the January 29th one we didn't vote on.
No, we just approved the January 29th one.
No, we didn't.
We didn't vote, did we?
Yeah, we just voted.
On the 29th, yeah.
Okay, all right, very
So
good.
guess who left the February one
Pays
at home?
attention.
Oh.
Can we wait until next time? It's full of, things I caught. Sorry.
Getting late.
Yeah, can we
All
do
right.
that next time?
Yes,
Sorry,
yeah.
guys.
You know what?
Okay,
Says
all right, so we're at minutes. So you note
but
that,
up here it says.
Courtney, you're noting that we're doing the February 29th, the February 12th next time?
Hold on.
All right, so we are now going to move in, we have to close the public session in order to move into, what? Are you going to say something?
Yeah.
I'm making a motion, what?
These are two separate sets of minutes. This is for February 1st, and it's got the wrong date at the top. Never mind, let's just keep going. We can do it next time. Sorry.
Chair, I move to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
Well, you want to adjourn into executive
And
session.
then move into executive session, yes. So we're going
To
to,
read the whole thing.
yeah, I'm going to.
Thank you.
So I move to adjourn the public meeting at 8:53 and enter into executive session for the following reasons. First reason is to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel. That is the fire chief, the police chief, and the DPW director. We are also going to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body, and the chair so declares. And it will be about the Wellfleet Firefighters Union, Wellfleet Communications Union, Wellfleet Teamsters Union, and to consider the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real estate. The chair declares that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body. We will discuss 3 Kendrick Avenue, 301 Main Street. And also, we have to approve minutes from prior executive session meetings, but also to release the minutes from the previous executive session meetings. And I have and the board will not reconvene in a public session. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Roll call
Aye,
vote.
roll call vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. I have a question. What is the 3 and the 6 before this?
So if you look at the very top where it says desired action, General Laws, Chapter 38, Section 21A10.
That's what's, okay,
Item 2, Item 3, and Item 6.
okay,
And if I may, what the administrator is saying is you have to announce each member's name
that's, yeah,
for the vote.
okay. Yeah, we've been sloppy about that, too. We've done voice vote. Okay, so say your name, please, and vote. Reinhardt, yes.
Wilson,
Yes.
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 How?
Yes.
Carlson, yes.
We need a yes, too. Okay, thank you. So we will move into the other smaller room, and you're free to go.
Where is the water?